A warm welcome and a good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 11th round. Oh dear, I hear myself. To the 11th round of the Formula SimRacing. Where do I hear myself? Of the Formula SimRacing World Championship, round 11 here at the Hungaroring. My name is Felix van Delft, and I am joined today once again by my lovely friends Dave Paling and David O'Reilly. Welcome, lads.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Felix. Good afternoon, Dave.
For a moment then I thought Felix was going to say, welcome my lovers, David and David. Thankfully it didn't go down that route. We're just waiting to get qualifying underway in a few moments' time, while Felix just makes sure that he can't hear himself. But what an interesting race we're potentially in for here today. 22 drivers on the grid, but there is a few stories to tell, I think, from the last race as well. Because there are a few penalties that will be applied to qualifying, and a couple of drivers that unfortunately are not going to be able to compete this week, but it doesn't change the fact that we have got 22 drivers on the track that are going to attack the Hungaroring with all their might and see if they can overtake around this tight, twisty circuit.
Yep, indeed. The qualifying session should be starting soon. So we are just waiting for that. At the moment we can see that Jordanna Valeriano has been quickest in the practice session, so far at least. I don't know how the other drivers are doing. Something to note in the pro session, or the pro race, just under an hour ago. The best qualifying time was a 1 minute point 5.
1 minute point 5.
1 minute point
That's
8.
quick.
1 minute 18.5. Sorry there. And Jordanna Valeriano is already on a 1 minute 18.2. So my claim that maybe World Championship drivers would be scared of that time is already invalid. But Alaria is actually driving here as well in the World Championship race as replacement for Michele D'Alessandro in the Twister racing car. So yeah, let's see what he is able to do here in the World Championship series.
Yeah, I think you make a very interesting point there, Felix. If I can just expand on that, I think you brought up something really interesting, because I think a lot of viewers out there probably wonder, well, if I came and got involved in the pro season, how would I measure up against the fastest guys in World Championship? And I think most of us have the belief that the fastest 2 or 3 guys in pro are capable of top 10 in World Championship. So it's going to be a really good test today to see how Alaria gets on, because he really dominated the pro event.
Yeah, he definitely did.
I mean, to put it into perspective, I mean, in the warm-up, the practice session that the drivers was taking part in, for the last 20-30 minutes or so, majority of them were working on qualifying lap times, and I think it was the top 15 are all within a second of each other, which is extremely impressive given Jordanna Valerio's lap time. Although I do know he can go a bit quicker. Just to upset a few people out there, maybe. Either that or I've just commentators cursed him, he's not going to get a lap in now. But the drivers are on their out laps, so they get 12 laps in total to get their time lapse in, which works out at 4 flying laps, unless they absolutely bin one and they want to double up somewhere. But yeah, 4 flying laps to see what they can do around the Hungaroring.
And qualifying, incredibly important here. In fact, it's no coincidence when they designed this track. Bernie Eccleston wanted them to build a Monaco-type street circuit in a major city, but the Hungarians back in '84 decided to build it here in this sort of natural amphitheatre. But it is very twisty, very turny, and the whole lap is rock and roll. You've just got a few seconds to gather your thoughts on the pit straight, but the rest of the time you're either coming out of a corner or preparing for a corner. It is non-stop action and very hard to pass. So those sorts of tracks make qualifying incredibly critical, because track position is king here. As you said earlier, Dave, you were stuck behind someone and going 3 seconds off your pace, but couldn't get past him. Jordanna Valeriano is moving the car around very aggressively now to get heat into the tyres, getting ready to start his lap. He was the quickest guy in practice, as you mentioned.
Just want to interrupt quickly. I think there may have been some issues with the stream.
Oh.
I'll keep an eye on it. It looks like the stream may have frozen for a little while. Either that or I've got problems with my internet, but somebody else has mentioned that the stream is frozen.
It's working now.
We'll see how that goes on.
Now. But I don't know if that's...
Mine froze for a moment too, and I reloaded the page. It seems to be working.
If it's not working, then we just make sure that we only stream to YouTube.
Looks like it's working on my end at the moment. So just to let people know, first sector times that have gone in. Martin Gosby has done a 27.769. Simoncic a 27.789. Alaria Alpus has done a 27.8, but he's purple sector 2. So it'll be interesting to see what Simoncic, Gosby and Alari are able to do completing their laps. Simoncic has gone purple sector 2 with a 26.7 as Alari pops in a 118.7 overall. But yeah, I think Simoncic could be on a fairly decent lap. Having said that, Gosby a 26.5 sector 2.
Yeah, I think we are still having troubles with the stream. Let's just do it live from YouTube only, I think, because it seems to be really difficult to stream for some reason to both at the moment. Should have been fine, I think. I can try one thing. Let's try this real quick if this works, and otherwise we will switch to YouTube only.
Technology, it's wonderful when it works, and when it doesn't, it's at everybody. If you need to interrupt me, Felix, just go ahead. Martin Gosby completed his lap, did a 118.420, just ahead of Yerni Simoncic, a 118.433. Everybody else is a little higher than the 118.8s at the moment. But obviously it's only been the first round of laps gone in. Michi Hoyer was fast in the practice session, so it'll be interesting to see, or at least for a few of the viewers here, how he gets on. Let's see, is he on his lap at the moment? It's going to have a look. Yes, he's just
he's on his hot lap.
It's a 27.9, so a couple of attempts down in sector 1, but he may gain that back in sector 2, because that would potentially suggest to me he's got quite a high wing on it. So Dave, you want to tell us through sector 2?
Yeah, sure. Hoyer's on it, pushing very, very hard. I'm just going to go to an onboard picture so I can get more of a driver's eye view. Getting a little bit of throttle oversteer as he enters the very fast back straight here. Fully committed there on the exit, using all of the curb. And tempting braking zone here. You're really, really tempted to keep the car going fast, but you've got to get it turned and got to get the power down as you exit here. So as he's coming into the final complex here, the turn 13, as he enters the 14 complex, threading the needle here, putting as much power down as he dare, unwinding the steering. That's quite a good exit there from the final corner, turn 14. And let's see how his lap time pans out. And that's popped him up into 4th place with a difference of 1/10. And that's quite a good opening stanza from Hoyer.
Yeah, indeed. Quite a good lap from him. I think he would like to be. But...
yeah, looking at top speed, Simoncic and Hoyer have got their cars trimmed out the fastest. And Gosby, it looks like he's set his car for a good quali. Not a massive top speed. We're only talking a couple of kilometres per hour, but to attack and defend here, you need, well, certainly to attack, you need something special in terms of top speed.
Yep, no, for sure. I'm looking at Alari at the moment. He, of course, is the one that put himself on pole position in the Pro Championship. Let's see what he can do. Can he improve that time for Martin Gosby?
He's on a good lap at the moment. Whether he's going to compete with Gosby, I'm not sure. But the interesting thing about Alari for me is the gear ratio he's using as he goes into 4th place. To put it into perspective, he's using 1st gear in corners where I was using 2nd or 3rd gear in the pro race earlier. Could be a hint as to where he's found a decent amount of pace in these cars around this track.
So all the top runners are heading back out now on their outlaps. Gosby, Simoncic, Patel, Hoyer, Alpus looks like he's heading out as well. Interesting championship story to tell during the warm-up, but we won't deal with that now.
Just going to let you know, Camille Wieswer abandoned his lap. James Sadler's just gone through sector 1, it's a 27.8. I mean, ideally, for anyone that's going to sort of light up the timing boards, they need to be hitting a 27.7 in sector 1 and 26.5 in sector 2. Sergei Eras at the moment has done a 26.5. He's put himself into 4th place. Well, let's see, a couple of first sectors coming in, but they're sort of high 27s, low 28s at the moment.
It's a track that I think it should get a fair bit quicker as it rubbers in, because unlike, say, a Monza or a Spa, so much of the lap time is generated mid-corner, and there's a lot of rubber going down. So I think we're gonna see a lot of action in the final stanza of this qualifying shootout. 12.5 minutes to go, and the guys just getting their eye in.
And as I say that, Gosby's purple sector 1 is absolutely flying. Oh no, he's going to abandon that. Marek Godek took purple sector 1 off him. 27.716 for Marek Godek.
Alari Alpus made a very, very concerted effort to square off turn 14, the final turn onto the pit straight, which you wouldn't do in a race lap because it totally compromises the previous lap, but it allowed him to get the car very square and really get the throttle down for his exit onto the pit straight. So I'll keep an eye on Alari's first sector time here.
Well, Marek Godek's middle sector's been pretty decent, 26.7, well, decent on time. Not sure about track limits. Through the final corner he's going now, a little bit twitchy. Across the line he goes up to 7th place for him, half a second off pole position at the moment.
Agpus is on a PB for sector 1 and faster than all of the guys in front of him.
Simičić stole pole with a 1:18.271. Wow. His sector 1 wasn't great, his sector 2 wasn't great either, but his sector 3 was purple. Stole pole position. Sorry to cut you off there, Dave.
Yeah, you're right. Nicely done. Yeah, I don't think Alari's going to challenge him, but he may move up 1 or 2 places.
Go. He's coming to the line. And it is going to be no improvement.
Well, interesting. Must have just overheated those tyres. I can see Mohammed Patel at the moment is on an outlap, getting his car in, getting it warmed up. So the drivers at this stage of the qualifying, they want to get the tyres nice and heated on the outlap. They want to get the brakes nice and heated as well. They don't need to worry about engine temps because it's parc fermé, so they've got to run their race size radiator duct. They can't use tiny little quali radiators and then swap them out for a bigger race distance one. Fairly tough on cooling this lap because it's not massively high top speeds, and it's a warm day. We've got 26 degrees. I'm not sure who we're on board with, but Mo Patel, the World Championship leader, is just coming up to size up and just start his hot lap.
Yeah, we're on board.
Currently P3. He's doing the same thing as Alari did. He's really squared off that turn 14, you might have noticed, to allow him to get the car straight and really get the power down for clean acceleration into turn 1. Very nice entry there. He sacrificed the line for speed a little bit, didn't take the apex, but managed to keep a pretty high speed through that corner. He's down to 2nd gear in turn 2. So this is a blind left-hander, really hard. You've got to kind of commit before you see the little marker post there on the apex. And this feels like a never-ending corner because it is never-ending. Big braking zone into the hairpin, which feels ultra slow. You feel like you could reach out of the car and deliver some milk. It feels so slow after the rest. And this is rock and roll through here. You're threading the needle, trying to keep the car at optimum speed, use as much track as you can and use everything to the limit. He certainly uses the exit of that corner to the limit. That's turn 11. And he gets the car straight and on the gas. He's on a PB. Both sectors looking very competitive. And if he keeps this tidy, he could be on for front row at this point at his 2nd shot at qualifying. And moves up onto the 2nd row, P3, provisional P3.
Now, the frustrating thing for Mohammed Patel and a few other drivers is that the Musto and Twister drivers are all receiving a 5-place grid penalty at this event, which is a difficult race to take any kind of grid penalty at. But yeah, Musto and Twister receiving a few penalties. Just so you know, Gosby's about to start another flying lap, but also Michi Hoyer managed to improve up to 6th place. Sergei Eras managed to improve up to 5th place. But yeah, Martin Gosby just starting a flying lap now. It'll be interesting to see what sort of top speed he's going to be able to get up to as there's a Gosby car coming out of the pits, braking at about 65 metres, really throwing the front end of the car in and hoping it sticks, which it does quite nicely. Let's see how he gets on into turn 2. Downhill braking. Tricky one. You can take a few different lines through this corner, but only one's going to be really fast for you. I think he ran a little bit too wide, or wider than he would have wanted to go. Now up into turn 4. Be confident, turn it in, hope it sticks, and it does just about. It's not the fastest Sector 1 time though, he's down a bit, 27.8, but if you can improve in Sector 2, mainly in these corners, turn 6, turn 7, you can gain so much through there. If you get it right, he may still be able to improve on his lap. Now into turns 10 and 11, all about high-speed grip here. Got to be confident again. Throw it in, hope it sticks. He's lost a bit more time. He's a 10th down. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of abandons this one. Not going to be an improvement unless he can find 2/10 somewhere in the last 2 corners.
Yeah, well, the middle sector to me looked mighty, but he must have just been overdriving the car just that little bit.
It did look very good just on the laptop. Maybe his previous Sector 2 was just a hell of a lot better. He loses time all through the lap, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately not the improvement he wants.
Jurni Simicic has just started another flying lap as well into turn 1. I don't think we've seen his, been on board with his previous best lap. It'll be interesting to see if he can improve. See through turn 2, going down into 2nd gear for turn 2 as well. Obviously these guys figuring a way to take 2nd gear. Maybe it is a longer gear ratio in the lower gears just to benefit them. 27.6 Sector 1, that's purple. See how he gets on through Sector 2. The interesting thing for me, having knowing Jurni, is that he's got really good straight line speed around this track, but he's also very quick in Sector 2 where you need the aerodynamics. So it's almost as if he's found speed without losing aeros, but he'd nearly lost the rear end there. Is that going to cost him any time through Sector 2? Obviously commentators cursed him. That's it, lap over. Lap
Massive
over.
tank slapper there.
What was I saying about downforce and grip?
I think he was. I think he was also in danger of a track limit issue as well on the exit of 11. I'm just going to have a quick little look at that.
Yeah. At the moment, I'm looking at Mohammed Patel though. He is about to start his 3rd flying lap here.
Just going to give a quick shout out though to John Eric Saxon, who's about to complete his lap, and I believe he's going to improve as well. Yes, he does, up to 9th place.
Yeah, Simicic's that lap would not have been legal. He fully extended on the exit of 11, and that's probably one of the reasons he backed out of that lap, as well as the rear end gets a bit shaky once it's all on the grass as well.
That was an almost identical first sector.
Here's a question for you guys. Martin Stefanko, he doesn't have a penalty, does he? Because he hasn't done a lap yet.
Well,
or was it a late
Stefanko
allocation?
does have a back of grid.
he has a back of grid.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
That
just reading
explains
that in from the race director's instructions. I don't know the details of it. But also, back of grids apply to Masculi, Becker and Caput. Winter, just by virtue of being a late entry, and Stefanko. So the back of grid's going to be nearly as crowded as the front of the grid. And then all Musto and Twister drivers have got 5-place penalty. So be a nice opportunity for an ambitious driver to be right up the front of the grid today, I think.
Yeah,
I think
Patel wasn't able to improve his time, by the way.
I think Adam Maguire is the only driver on a flying lap at the moment. Quite a few guys sitting in the pits just waiting for the track to rubber in for their final runs.
Yeah, Maguire has the personal best on Sector 1, but he's a tenth or two off the pace of the top guys.
Yeah, that's his qualifying lap over. I think Valeriano is... No, he's just on his out lap.
Maguire had a little bit too much sausage through those corners, sent him a little bit overweight and off into the barriers. Dominik Vasienko made his debut last time out in Spa. He's about to set up for a flying lap, currently sitting in 9th place though, but I think Simicic and Gosby have also headed back out on track for their out laps.
Yep.
This is interesting between Gosby and Simicic because both have just gone for another flying lap a few moments ago. Both of them had poor laps. So now the pressure's on. Well, I say the pressure's on. Jordanna Simicic probably feeling quite comfortable with a 10th.5 in his pocket. But if Gosby hooks up just one corner better than he did, that 10th.5 will come to him. So Jordanna Simicic can't afford to not go out there to try and improve. And by the looks of it, I think... yeah, Gosby is ahead on the track.
Yeah, at the moment I'm still looking at Vasienko going through the second sector. Looks a bit twitchy. It's a lot of curb there on the entry. It's not a very bad lap. I think he will put himself around P13, P12. Let's see though, coming the V-line now. It's a bit wide there, has a bit of oversteer as well. On the exit of the last corner now, it will be a 1 minute 19.5, enough for P16.
Okay, I was watching Martin Gosby, and as he approached turn 1, there was a couple of cars coming out of the pit lane, and I think one of them may have put him off a little bit. I wouldn't say they blocked him or anything like that. They got out of the way, but it just did enough to put him off a bit. He's down a 10th in Sector 1 alone. Jordanna Simicic has done a 27.6 Sector 1. He's up by a 10th.5 on his own time through Sector 2. He's going now. He's going to need to make sure that he gets this a little bit calmer than he did on his previous lap. He's already found a massive chunk of time. Gosby has improved in Sector 2 though. He's almost matched his previous overall time through the two sectors. But Simicic, he's lost a little bit Sector 2, but he's still a 10th up on his best time. Martin Gosby coming around the final corner. Can he improve? Yes, he does, but not enough to take pole position. Jordanna Simicic coming up to the final corner now. Sorry if this is a bit all over the place, but it's a bit frantic. So, Simicic, what can you do? Are you going to carry the improvement throughout the course of the lap? Yes, he does. Just over a 10th gain, and he's happy about that as well.
Yeah, definitely great first and last sector, but there is still time to gain for him in the second sector, it seems.
Well, you know, it might be due to his aero setup. Dave was pointing out earlier his top speed. So if he's got a fairly low aero setup, there are straights, significant straights in Sector 1 and Sector 3, but there are not many straight lines to be found in Sector 2. So Gosby's running a bit more wing. He's a couple of kph slower than Simicic, which is giving him the upper hand in Sector 2. And that was a big gamble. He's got himself on the front row, but he's going to need to out-drag Jordanna Simicic, or he'll be sitting in his slipstream for 70 laps today, barring a clever strategy move.
Daniel Kiss is just coming towards the end of Sector 2. Obviously, wherever Daniel qualifies, he's going to drop a few places. He's lost a bit of time through Sector 2. Though Sergei Eras completes another lap, but doesn't improve on his lap time. But yeah, I mean, it's fantastic efforts from both Gosby and Simicic. I mean, I thought Gosby might abandon his lap, but he just went for it. Nothing to lose, absolutely went for it. Very unlucky not to get more of an improvement. Daniel Kiss, what have you got? Stays 4th place.
Yep, and at the moment, that is the end of our qualifying session. Time flies by when you're having fun. And Jordanna Simicic is definitely the one that had the most fun today in the qualifying session, as he is starting on pole position.
Yeah, impressive qualifying from Journey. And, you know, it was really, really interesting doing a bit of testing this week on this track. taking a bit of wing off the car did not really compromise lap time. And I guess the middle sector, yeah, they're slow corners, but they're not really aero-dominated corners. And this 2017 spec car just has a lot of downforce, and you're not relying as much on the wings as we were last year.
Yeah, exactly.
It is an interesting one because, I mean, I know unfortunately viewers weren't able to watch the Ace race yesterday, but there is a recording of it. Hopefully we'll get uploaded soon. But in that race yesterday, there was one particular driver that looked like he'd gone with very like Monza style wings, because nobody could get anywhere near overtaking him on a straight. Through sector 2 though, he just had a little bit, he'd gone too far with the wings and he was a little bit too slow, but still nobody could attack him. So I mean, this is one of those circuits where you kind of have to ask yourself, do I maximise my setup for the track, or do I maximise my setup to not be overtaken, or do I maximise my setup to be able to overtake? It's that kind of nature of circuit.
Well, indeed, and I remember reading Alain Prost's book on competition driving, and back in the old days of before Parc Ferme, he would set his car for absolute optimum lap time, which usually meant a bit more wing, but he would take wing off for the race because his logic was, well, they can't attack me in the slow bits anyway, and I'm going to be, you know, unattackable in the fast bits. So here we can't change setup, of course, and so the guys have got to make a bit of a trade-off. Do they want to have the optimum qualifying setup, or do they want to be really, really hard to pass in the race? And Journey seems to have done both. He seems to have given himself a really high top speed by virtue of not too much wing, but he's managed to put the car on pole, so he's got the best of both worlds. So that's a stunning result from Journey. Some interesting, I don't know if you guys want to talk about it. I think this just puts an interesting complexion on the championship at the moment. If you were Bernie Ecclestone, you'd sort of want to happen what has happened over the past 2 weeks, because Mohammed Patel, who's been our tear-away championship leader with 6 wins and 2 podiums, didn't race last time out, and because he was on the server and doing some engineering work for other drivers, on a technical level, they'd broken the rules. So his team have all had a 5-place grid penalty, which means that he didn't get any points last week, and it's harder for him to get points this week. Jordanna Valeriano, who's in P2, is on pole. So if you were Bernie Ecclestone and you said, I want to spice up this championship and make it all a bit closer and all a bit more interesting, you'd want the drivers coming 2nd and 3rd in the title chase to be on the front row, and Mohammed Patel to be back in 7th or 8th, and that's exactly what we've got. So this, from a championship perspective, this afternoon's race could end up being quite interesting.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, not wrong at all. I mean, Bernie Ecclestone's other idea was sprinkle the track in a few corners with a little bit of water. Not one that would have worked, but I mean, it's one of those where weather does quite often spice things up as well. I mean, obviously, I would never hint or anything that a race director or any kind of league is imposing any kind of penalty to spice up the racing, because that's not the idea of what race directors is about. At all. It's just happenstance. But I was saying, it's just curious, if Bernie was in charge, he might have thought of doing that.
Yep.
Now I do have a little quick technical question to ask Felix while we're in the warm-up session here.
Yeah.
Felix, you know the overlay that we use in Formula Sim Racing?
Yes.
Which button hides it? Because I've hidden it and I can't get it back up.
G.
Okay, looks like I've got a problem then, because that didn't work. I will keep on that
What is missing? What is missing? Like everything?
Everything's gone.
Oh, it should be G. At least for me, it's G. But anyway, as you are fixing the problem,
it worked. It worked.
Okay. Then I think I will just get us through the driver and team championship standings, because as you were talking, it is quite an interesting race for the championships here today at the Hungaroring. So let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship first, which is going to be pretty interesting, as well, Patel of course missed the last round. So let's take a look. It is still Patel leading, but the gap has become a little bit smaller towards Jordanna Valeriano. Only just under 50 points, or actually 50 points exactly between the two. Then it is Martin Gosby was in second place in front of Simoncic until last race. So he dropped down a position, so maybe he will want to push a little bit harder today and try and get back that second place in the championship. In fourth we have Daniel Kish, followed by Michi Hoyer. And then in sixth it is Michele D'Alessandro. He of course will miss today's race, so will lose quite a bit of points with that as well. Rosmer Schuli is in seventh. Then 8th, Martin Stavrenko, who will be starting from the back of the grid today. And then in 9th, we've got Florian Becker. And in 10th, still Lars Bergman, who is, I believe, retired from this year's Formula Sim Racing season. So, the team standings then. Of course, Musto Racing, very strong there still. 293 points in front of... or 293 points in total, and right behind that it is Flag to Flag Brem GP with quite a big difference, over 100 points in between them. And then in third it is Go Speed Racing with 136, then Avid Chronic Racing with 124, Crossmaster in fifth, in sixth Stormcharge Vopu Racing, who have loaned out their license to... or is it the other way around? Is it VB Madcap that loaned out their license? I
think VB and Madcape has rented their license to drillers, I believe.
So yeah, so Stormcharge
unless
is
I'm wrong,
still in the championship, and then in seventh Netrex, 8th Go Speed Engineering, 9th Invictus Motorsport, and then in 10th indeed VB Madcape that rented out their license to Drillers Motorsports. I believe they don't get their points, right? Or do they?
No, I don't think so.
No, so Drillers just has to start from square one. And then in 11th, rounding off the team championship, it is Born to Win.
Okay, might be a few minutes until we're ready to go racing. I'm just having a quick look at the drivers' chat. There's a few interesting things for the race director to deal with already. I think that problem of people counting to 12 again has spiked its dirty little head again, which there's a bit of a discussion going on about at the moment. And also, I mean, Dave, you mentioned about the temperature here in Hungary. It is a hot day, it is getting cooler, but this is a track where you've got to get your radiators right, because if you get it wrong and you're in traffic, you're going to get a very hot car. And I think there's maybe one driver out there who's made a bit of a mistake with their radiators.
Or someone smoking?
Yeah, smoking, and as I will attest, smoking is not good for your health. So yeah, the race director a little busy at the moment, but as soon as the race is ready to go, so we will take everybody through all of that action. But I mean, this is one of those races where nobody wants to start anywhere other than pole position, because pole position, if you're in first, you can dictate the pace of the whole race up until that first pit stop. Everyone else is limited by the car ahead of them. And that's where it then gets to a point where drivers may start taking risks, going for risky overtakes or defending a little too aggressively. So as for what kind of race we're going to have today, I can kind of expect fireworks, but at the same time, I don't think we're going to see a hell of a lot of overtaking.
Yeah, it's a very interesting track. I think I was saying before, it is just rock and roll, other than 2 or 3 seconds on the pit straight to gather your thoughts, and at that point you're probably looking in your mirrors and watching out for an attack or trying to attack the person in front of you. I can't describe how intense 70 laps of this track is, because it is just one corner. You're either managing an exit or preparing for a braking zone, other than a couple of times to catch your breath on the main straight, and it is a 70 lap Grand Prix. This track is 3.8 kilometres. It's the 4th shortest track in the current F1 calendar, after Monaco, of course, which is a full kilometre shorter, and it's within a few metres of the length of Interlagos or Montreal, but so much more work for the driver than Interlagos. I mean, Interlagos, you've got 2 nice long straights, and you've got a hectic sector 2, whereas here it is just all work. So this is an afternoon where the drivers and the engines are really going to be working to their temperature limits.
Yeah, they really are. And to put it into perspective as well, I mean, this isn't some kind of arcade game where the game is in control in the pit lane so you can get a drink while your car's cruising down the pit lane. you've got to be on it for every single moment from start to finish. So, I mean, I know from the race I had today, I was desperate for a drink, but I didn't even have the time in the pit lane to grab my drinks bottle and get a drink. So I would hope that these guys, perhaps a little bit more professionally set up than me, and they've got a nice big drinks bottle next to them with, like, I don't know, 6 straws sticking into each other so that they could just grab the straw and go hands-free for their drink. But it might sound ridiculous, but this is the kind of race where the drivers might actually need that kind of thing, because it is intense. I mean, if you remember, Felix, we did interviews at the end of, I think it may not the last race, I think it was the race before, where Michi Hoyen was talking about how sweaty and like tiring the race was, and he mentioned about how intense it is. Well, this will be even worse for them.
Well, yep. It's 3 hours when you take practice, quali, and the race. It's a 3-hour event, so it is absolutely full on. Just looking at the top 5 in that Drivers' Championship when Felix took us through it, Hoyer is the only one in the top 5 not to have scored a win this season. He's come second twice and he's come third once. He's just been outfoxed a couple of times by Patel on strategy. So, but he's probably a little bit too far down the grid to score that win today. Patel 6 wins, Simičić 2 wins, Gosby 1 win, which is a memorable race in Silverstone on a wet and drying track where he made the inspired decision and went straight from Inters to Primes, and Daniel Kiss with 1 win. So Hoyer is the bridesmaid, 5th place in the championship. But of course he did very, very well in the world's fastest gamer, which is one of the hot news items at the moment in sim racing.
Oh, for sure.
I'll just expand on something Dave said before. Any of our viewers who are out there who are playing the fantastic new Codemasters Formula 1 2017 game, a lot of our drivers have sort of evolved through that sort of simcade, if I don't mean that in an insulting way, but through the gaming platforms, and they're fantastic games. When you get really quick in them and you want to come and have a go at rFactor 2, it is on a whole different level. The way you feel the car, the way you feel the road, the way the tyres evolve over the stint with temperature and wear, the things that you're managing, it is a whole new level. So if you're enjoying F1 2017 and you want to find out how deep you can go into the racing simulation side of your sports, this is where you come. Come and join us. Come and have a race in Pro and see how you get on. Because if you're fast where you race, we'd love to see you here in Formula Sim Racing, and you'll get a chance to race against the very best drivers in the world. All the links are below the YouTube chat, or come on the forum and ask questions on our internet forum, and we'd be happy to give you a hand.
Yep, well said there.
Well, it's not going to be long until the drivers are lining up on the grid for the formation lap. We'll run through the confirmed grid at that point. Obviously, there's a lot for the race director to adjust before we do go to the formation lap.
Tell you what we can touch on, if you like. We can talk a little bit about tyre strategy. Dave, you did a full pro distance race earlier.
You know what? Strategy around this place, there's only one person that can say, I'm going to do this strategy. And that's really the guy who's on pole position. Everybody else, they may have to think of throughout the race, right, let's change it up. 2 stops possible. You can do option, prime, get to the end, no real problems.
Yeah.
But a 3-stop can be a hell of a lot faster. But only if you got clear air. If you got traffic, the 3-stop is slower. So it's all about the situation on the track at the time. I think if we see anybody doing 4 stops, then they've had issues. A 1-stop, that's not going to happen today, unless someone's race ends on about lap 50. So yeah, 2 and 3 stops is where we're going to be looking at, I reckon. But this track's a lot like I mentioned in Spa, if you remember, Felix, where if a driver pits at that first stop and goes for the prime, there's no opportunity of an undercut. But if they pit and go option, there is a possibility of an undercut. So what tyre they go on for that next stint could be crucial as well, because if they come out in clear air on option tyres, they could be 3 to 4 seconds a lap faster than anybody that's in traffic on older tyres. So they could make up so much time. It's going to be interesting to see how it
and that's
plays
probably
out.
the biggest opportunity here that this circuit offers you, is to do a sneaky short option stint, come off your primes, dive into the pits with, you know, a fairly light fuel load, and try to light up the timing screens and reposition yourself for your next pit stop. And if you were starting outside the top 10, that could be something you'd be tempted to do.
Well, I think, if you're starting outside the top 10, you've got to go for the prime tyre.
Yeah.
If you go for the prime tyre, stay within about 18 to 20 seconds, and all of a sudden, the race is going to change massively. Okay, Felix, do you want to get one of us or run through the order yourself?
Yeah, sure, I'll do it myself for once. So, on pole position, we have Jordanna Simoncic. Very well qualifying for him. And let's see if he can stay in front here after the first couple of laps, and then have the right strategy to also keep in front when he crosses the finish line. In second position, it is Martin Gosby. Good qualifying for him as well. He needs that for a good position at the end of the race, and a good amount of points, because he is in third compared to Simoncic in the championship. Then Sergi Heras, very nice qualifying for him. Won the Ace race yesterday, and is replacing Michael Francesconi in today's race in the Netrex car. Then Michi Hoyer in fourth place. Of course, did well in the World Fastest Gamer series, finished in the top 10, I believe, in the finals. So great job for him. And in fifth, it is Eric Andre, also relatively new guy here in Formula SimRacing. Then John-Eric Saxon in sixth. Then it is Mohammed Patel, who of course had that 5-place grid penalty, down in 7th place now. And the same goes for Daniel Kish, he's down to 8th. Then it is Kamil Wiswa in 9th. In 10th we've got newcomer and replacer for Michele D'Alessandro, Alari Algbeus. Then in 11th, James Sadler. In 12th, Harley Hamnet for VB Madcape, which is actually Driller Motorsports now, just that the car hasn't updated yet. Then it is Adam Maguire in P13, Dominic Waziensko in P14, Timo Valkyari in 15, Eros Masciuli down in 16th, and then Florian Becker in 17th, Giordano Valeriano in 18th, Rister Kapat in 19th, and Marek Godek closing off the drivers that are actually starting from the grid in 20th. And then we have Martin Stefanko and Georg Winter starting from the pit lane.
Just to let you know as well, 14th place Dominik Vasienko is the first driver on the prime tyres.
Right, thank you very much. So Dave, could you do the starting for us today?
With pleasure. So the FSR World Championship round 11 from Hungary. The lights are on. The lights are out and away they go. Simoncic, a bit too much wheel spin at the start. Gosby got away well. It's very compact at the back. But Simoncic has opened up a lead side by side for second and third, though. Third and fourth, my apologies. Simoncic having to fight hard to keep hold of the lead, and he's managed to do it. Gosby is going to try and attack him into turn 2, going around the outside, perhaps looking for a switchback. Can't quite do it though. But in third place we've got Sergi Heras and Michi Hoyer fighting it out, and Michi Hoyer moves himself up into third, and now Mohammed Patel is going to try and sneak past her as well up into turn 4, but he's going to have to back out of it.
Massive fight between Hoyer and Heras. They were hammer and tongs the whole way off the line. Only one could prevail, and that was a fantastic win for Michi, because he's now in P3.
Martin Gosby made a mistake as well in turn 4, and that's dropped him into the clutches of Michi Hoyer. Michi Hoyer obviously trying to make gains straight away, showing he's got some pace. But this is the thing, Dave, you mentioned about the pit strategy. If they're on a 3-stop, those guys that got the lower fuel, they've got to make moves right away. If they don't, the tyres are going to drop off and it's not going to work for them. So if Michi's on a lower fuel load, he's got to attack right away. But Simoncic, lap 1, he's already opened up a second.
Yeah, first victim of today is Jordanna Valeriano. He lost his front wing. Don't know if he got involved with some other car. Only thing I know is that he is driving around the circuit without a front wing.
That's unfortunate for Jordanna. He's the driver that I mentioned had gone over his allocated amount of laps, so ended up having to start at the back of the grid as well. So back of the grid and a front wing gone. It's a disastrous start for him here.
Mohammed Patel is starting to put pressure on Sergi Heras.
That's exactly what I was looking at, Felix. I was thinking he's really getting ambitious, and Sergi must be feeling some pressure with the World Championship driver leader attacking him, looking for some early wins here to stay in contact with the lead group.
Well, Sergi is in as a reserve driver effectively, but in all honesty, that doesn't mean that he should go, oh, Mohammed Patel's behind me, I'm not going to defend him. This is Sergi's opportunity to go, yeah, you're Mohammed Patel, I'm going to keep you behind me. Yeah, and that's how he puts himself on the radar. Absolutely.
Well said, Dave. So gap's still very small. We don't have DRS in FSR this season. This car is based on a 2009 spec car. So the 2.4 litre V8 engines, no KERS, no DRS, just pure racing. So you don't have to think too much about pulling a bigger lead than the 1 second, although Simicic has now got a clear second on Gosby, which augurs well.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
That's a big crash.
Flying in the air. What is happening? I am getting deja vu from Australia. Risto Kappa, no front wing, no rear wing. The car is absolutely toasted. What has happened there? Let's see if I can get a replay. Mr. Cuppet spun around about 3 billion times. Let's go back to the replay.
He's turned it into a Formula Ford. No wings at all.
Here we go. Risto Cuppet on the main straight. Is it lag? Yes, it is lag from his teammate. Dominik Vazienko lags back into his teammate Risto Cuppet, and that is the end of the race for him already after 3 laps of racing. Wow.
Oh, nasty business.
Well, you can always send James Sadler a message to see how to cope with that kind of crash, because that's what happened to James in Australia. And there's absolutely nothing as a driver you can do about it if you're the car behind or the car in front. It's just massively disappointing for everybody involved there. Just keeping an eye on what's happening up near the front. Simicic opening up a bit more of a gap. Sergi Heras, let's see. He's doing all right for himself at the moment, keeping Mohammed Patel behind him, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just see Patel go long. Oh, Patel a lot stronger on the brakes though, closing that gap up little by little in every braking zone. I think the closest sort of fight we might have is Daniel Kiss and Eric Andre just ahead of him, and let's see, Camille Wieswer right behind him. And John-Eric Saxon qualified in the top 10, I believe, on the option tyre. Good for him. Hopefully he doesn't have the disaster that he had in Spa, as he was taken out by a driver who accidentally, I think, made a mistake in the braking zone anyway, and absolutely wiped John-Eric Saxon out.
Risto Caput is returned to the pits. He's driven all the way around with no front, no rear wing. And so I guess he's hopeful of seeing some inspired pit crew action to replace his front and rear wing. I'll keep an eye on the car and let you know if he has any luck.
Oh, I've just seen Adam Maguire go very, very wide at turn 11. Got a little closer to the wall than I think he would have liked, or even the spectators would have liked. But it just goes to show that all of the drivers are out there pushing as hard as their cars will allow at the moment. Let's see, a little further down the grid, we have got a bit of a gaggle of cars, sort of 14th onwards, and somebody mentioning in the chat as well that by mistake Marek qualified P10 restart. Well, Marek, I believe, is one of those drivers that had a problem with his car setup, so don't panic guys, the grid I believe is right.
Yes, Marek elected to leave the server, get a fresh car, and because that means you're no longer subject to Parc Fermé, you effectively have to be disqualified from qualifying. So Marek elected to take a new car, new setup, and start from the back. So he obviously had a big issue with his setup. Maybe it was radiator choice. Who knows?
Camille Wieswer very close to the back of Daniel Kiss. I mean, Wieswer has been catching him up over the course of the last lap and a half, and he's really onto the back of him. But a feature we'll see throughout the course of this race is that even if a driver falls back 2 or 3 seconds from one tiny mistake, they may be able to close that gap right back up, but then not a lot they can do about it. I'm probably not the only driver in the race today in Pro that was driving along thinking I would love to have a button to open DRS right now, but that's not the cars that we're racing this season, so it's not available, and you have to use what you've got, which is your own ability.
So 5 laps of 70 completed, and the level of concentration required for another 65 laps from these guys. Yeah, Lees were very deep under brakes there trying to attack Kiss, but Kiss is a very experienced campaigner. Hoyer just gone purple in sector 3, but he's not going to threaten Gosby for some time. That's probably why he's gone purple. He's got clear air, time to manoeuvre, time to think.
Well, while you're keeping an eye on that, I'm just going to keep an eye on this gaggle of cars, 14th onwards. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this for a few laps. Just to let everybody know, pit windows for a 3-stop strategy, anywhere from lap 10 to lap 15 for a 2-stop. You've got to go beyond lap 15 really, so 15 to 20. In Ace, we did see a couple of drivers do 20 laps on the options, but laps 17, 18, 19 and 20 were very, very difficult for the drivers.
Yes, and that's of course the finer detail between the prime and the option. The option is very quick at the beginning and then tends to fall away despite the reducing fuel load, but the prime tyre, not as quick, but very, very stable. So as your fuel load diminishes, the primes get quicker over the stint. So for the first 10 laps, the guy on options has got the upper hand, but thereafter the pendulum swings back and the prime runner's got a pretty good chance. About 3 litres of fuel per lap, so 10 laps, that's a 30 litre drop in fuel load. About 211 litres for the totality of the race.
And the tank will only hold about, what, 141 I think it is, so it's not like the drivers can just go right.
Even that, I think.
Is it not even that?
Is it?
Yeah.
I know it's nowhere near full race distance, so
No.
it's not like you can just go, right, let's fill up the tank at the start and we'll see how we go. That's just not doable. Refueling fully in effect this year.
So Dave, do you think the natural choice, if you're up front, is to try to finish on primes so that you can be on the track and circulating early on your fresh rubber?
It's ever so difficult. Like I mentioned during warm-up, it's ever so difficult to say, oh, well, I want to be on the primes at the end when the track's at its best. Because you've got to fully, every pit stop has got to be calculated. I mean, let's say, for example, Jonas Simoncic, he's opened up a 4-second gap at the moment. It's taken him 8 laps to do that. If he's on a 2-stop strategy, that's not really a problem. That's pretty good pace. He's quicker than everybody else. If he's on a 3-stop strategy, he's not really gaining enough time, so he may have to go, right, I'm going to use primes at the very end. Because he needs the pace of the options. Just to let you know, Marek Godek getting ever so close to the back of Florian Becker, but I have seen Marek Godek having quite a bit of lag again, and he's just appeared behind, let's see, Harley Hamnet gains a place without doing anything.
Quite a bit is an understatement.
Well, I'll be polite.
The easiest overtake he ever got.
He probably doesn't even know it's happened, but it's ever so difficult to follow a car that's lagging about a bit. I mean, I haven't messaged Matthew Toussaint from today, but I mean, Matthew seemed to have a fantastic race today, but every time I got close to him, his car was lagging about a bit, and it did make it very difficult to get close enough to attack. So that'll be what it was like for anybody, for Harley Hamnet while he was following Marek Godek, but that has just freed up Harley Hamnet now to see if he can attack Florian Becker. Let's see, up at the front, gap spreading out a little bit, about a second. Well, after the gap between Simoncic and Gosby, it's about a second spread over the drivers.
Yes, and Journey has got a personal best lap so far of 1:19.9. He's a full quarter of a second faster than the next fastest guy on track. So Journey is looking absolutely imperious in his pace. And when he gets in this mood, and it reminds me of his maiden win, which I think was Singapore,
yeah,
last season, which was just an absolutely inspired drive from Journey, and his tyres were going away from him, and he was just determined not to pit until the people behind him pitted. He didn't want to get caught in traffic, and he rejoined in P1, and to do that in World Championship event means you've had a very good afternoon indeed.
It does. I mean, to put into perspective as well regarding the strategy, it's kind of what I was trying to sort of get towards with Simoncic. Oh, go on, Felix, what you got?
Jordanna Valeriano just DNF'd. I think he spun around again. Let's see what happened on the replay now. Coming into turn 2. What happened? Oh, I think he just rage quitted or something, because he just went full power into the wall and pressed escape afterwards.
Well, I did see that he was in the pits a few moments ago. So prior to that, he was in the pits. So I don't know whether he's had an accident and had a bit of damage somewhere. Okay, Florian Becker getting close to Eros Masciuli. But Stefanko's just made a move on Marek Godek. So is George Winter. Godek's out of the race.
Yeah. Godek made a mistake too. Let's see that replay. So here we go. Coming out of turn 11. Went a little bit too much on the AstroTurf. Then coming to turn 12. Did he do the exact same? Yeah, a little bit too much on the power and on the AstroTurf. Into the wall he goes. Loses his rear wing. End of the race for him.
So I just want to give a quick shout out to Sergei Eras. He's holding his own at the moment, and not only that, he's catching up to the back of Michi Hoyer. He's bringing Mohammed Patel along with him as well. So the gap's beginning to close up a bit. But I've just been riding on board with Martin Gosby. Apart from on the main straight, he can't even see Yerny Simoncic. How disheartening must that be this early in the race? But yeah, back to Yerny Simoncic. If Yerny pits in, say, 5 laps' time, he may have a gap of, 9 seconds on Gosby. So if we add 3 seconds onto Adam Maguire in 12th place, that'll be about 19-20 seconds. So if Simoncic pits, he's coming out in about 12th place.
Yeah, and I think, Journey, he's got to manage his tyres. He cannot afford to drop back behind other traffic. But you know what, I think Simoncic, Gosby and Hoyer are all going to be putting Sergei Eras on their Christmas card list, because he is doing a very valuable job. He's keeping Mohammed Patel behind him. And that is no mean feat. Mohammed Patel is a superb driver. And Sergei is in there driving like a seasoned World Championship veteran, not like a guy who's stepping up for a World Championship race.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a few drivers from pro or race try and compete in the World Championship as one-offs, and some have done well and some have not had the best of luck. But Sergei definitely doing a fantastic job at the moment. But then, having said that, if he pits in 2 or 3 laps time on a 3-stop strategy, whereas these guys may go on for another 9-10 laps, then it kind of not hides his pace, but it sort of illuminates his pace. But when it could be down to a lower fuel load. But I would like to think that Sergei's going to go to about lap 20. That's what he did in Ace. He did a 2-stop option prime, made it work absolutely fantastically for him yesterday.
And that's really the fine difference between somebody who's quick in pro or quick in Ace and a World Championship leader, is that it's one thing to say, right, look at me, I can do the same lap time as these World Championship guys. Do 70 of them without damaging your cars, dealing with traffic, fighting for position against the best drivers in the world, and that's the difference between a hot lapper and a World Championship leader. And you've just got to be full of admiration for these guys to finish these races clean and drive at the pace they do. It is really quite incredible. I recommend any of our viewers who haven't tried it, if you've got rFactor 2, fantastic. You can download the tracks, you can download the cars, all for free. If you haven't got rFactor 2, you're missing out, because this is the big daddy of all the driving sims. This is the one which the core engine is the same as the Formula 1 teams use in their simulator, and you can't get any closer to the real thing than rFactor 2. Get involved, have a drive, see how it all feels, and you'll only have respect for these guys, because what they do is an outstanding job at this level.
Oh, God. Sorry, that's not at you, Dave. I've just seen Adam Maguire need a change of underwear. He's so nearly lost the car. But yeah, to touch on what you were saying as well, I mean, I was having a look at some of the FSR servers a couple of weeks ago when just before the Spa race, and I saw that there was some new drivers giving the car a go in the FSR servers, and thought, great, I'm just going to have a look. I'm doing a few things, well, I'll have a look, see how they're getting on. And one thing I will say is I saw a couple of them, it was damp conditions, coming out of the pits at Spa and trying to take Eau Rouge absolutely flat in the wet straight out of the pits. Now, I could see that this particular driver was getting massively frustrated and probably thought the game's crap, I can't even get up Eau Rouge. But it's the realism of it. You can't drive out of the pits in damp conditions and take Eau Rouge flat. It's not going to happen. You got to get the tyres up to temperature. You got to get the car, everything working right. You got to have a decent setup on the car. So it's not just as simple as jump in and go as quick as these guys. These guys work at it. So you do have to have a little bit of patience when you first try the game, because it is not dead easy, but at the same time there is massive rewards when you get on top of the setups, and you can, the benefit of getting around the track without issues is absolutely massive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the most interesting things about driving a stint is that the performance is not linear. It's not like doing a time trial session in a Cody simulation where you just get out there and the car's exactly the same on lap 1 as it is on lap 50. The car comes out heavy with cold tyres, cold brakes. It feels a bit like a boat, and then the grip starts to come in as the tyre temps come up, and the braking zones get easier as the brakes come up to temp. And then later in the stint, it starts to go back away again. So it's a bit of a curve that comes to you and then it goes away from you later in the stint. And managing all of that is just, such a beguiling experience in rFactor 2. And that's, a big reason why a lot of these top drivers are here.
Yeah, definitely is. Okay, quick update. Jordanna Valeriano has opened up the lead to 9.3 seconds. Martin Gosby is coming under pressure now from Michi Hoyer. Michi Hoyer's got the gap down to about 0.7 of a second. And Hoyer knows that he can't hang about because Sergei Eras is still there, waiting to pounce if anything goes wrong. I think Mohammed Patel, he's gone into sensible mode, because he realises he's got a bit of a gap behind him. So he's backed off a little bit from the cars ahead, looking after his tyres, hope to take them a little bit longer. I fully expect to see Mohammed Patel do that. Harley Hamnet making moves on Florian Becker, I believe.
Yeah, yes, they went side by side through turn 8 and 9, I just saw. It seems that Florian is the one ahead now. Let's see if I can get a replay of what happened there. They don't immediately start battling again. No.
Okay, Camille Liswa has pitted. So we've got our first pit stop. 15 laps is probably the sort of the natural lifespan for an option if you're not, doing anything special to manage it. So Camille is in and out. And
just going to interrupt a second. Eros Masciuli may have an opportunity of an overtake down into turn 1. He's going for it. Chucks it up the inside. Prime tyre versus old option. What a move. It was a bit of a late move, but you know what? I'm not going to argue about that one. I think Valky RV saw that he was... that he had the better tyres and fully expected it. Nice move.
Yeah, I sadly missed it. I was looking at the replay.
Oh, Felix.
No. I'm going to get that replay. Don't you worry, Dave.
Good. I've missed you.
So here we go. On the straight, indeed. Eros Masciuli in the slipstream and makes that late move. Comes from far, but makes it stick. And yeah, great move. A la Daniel Ricciardo in Monza, I would say.
It was a very sweet move. Takes 2 to tango. A beautiful little dance they've just done there. Sergei Eras still close to the back of Michi Hoyer. Mohammed Patel, I think he was just looking after the tyres because he's closed that gap up quite nicely. Jordanna Valeriano has got the gap to, 11.5 seconds now? But it's about 19-20 seconds he needs to keep an eye on. He's going to be hoping that the likes of John Eric Saxon, Alari Alpus are going to be pitting any moment now. because as soon as they pit, it's going to open up a window that he's going to be able to try and feed back into. But it's the same for all of the drivers. It's so crucial now. But it's a risk. If they think I need to go a bit longer, open the gap up a bit more, but their tyres go off a little bit more, the gap might come down a bit, especially if others pit and gain. It's all going to be very, very interesting. Let's see. Go on.
Timu Valkyari has retired from the race. Reason unknown.
Maybe he didn't like dancing.
It was a lovely overtake, and it was a good call, Dave. A beautiful overtake into turn 1. Simicic, our leader, is into the pits. Journey Simicic pitting after 16 laps. And this is going to make life very, very interesting because Gosby is still out on the track. Doesn't get the best exit at turn 14, which is what he'll need to do and want to do. But Hoyer, Heras, Patel continue circulating. Journey coming back out on fresh rubber and will end up in about 6th place.
Yep. He's on the prime tyre as well, I believe.
Yes.
So he decided to get that out of the way now. Might not be a bad call.
I think it might jumble the order a bit through this pit window because, of course, as we all know, he's on the prime, which is probably naturally 0.6 of a second slower around here. And remembering it's not a long lap, so 0.6 is a fair bit. But also, along with the prime comes a bigger belly full of fuel. So Journey's car is as slow as it's going to be this afternoon. And the guys in front of him, they'll have their engineers saying to the right, Journey's gone on the primes. Let's take options. Let's take a light car and options, and let's just try to do something here, and hold position ahead of Journey.
Well, you asked earlier, Dave, like, should Journey use the tyres primes later or earlier? It could be a case of his thought, well, you know what? Gosby's doing a certain pace and he's holding Hoyer, Heras and Patel up at the moment. So even though Simicic is on the heavier fuel and the slower tyre, he may still be able to make gains because these guys are being held up effectively at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's just going to be really interesting the way this plays out strategically now because Gosby, Hoyer, half a second between them, Eras only another half second back. Patel, and I think you've called it, Adam Maguire pitting. Patel, I think you called it spot on, as we saw him do in Magny Core. When Mo knows he can't overtake, he'll just save the car, save the fuel, save the tyres, and then he will just hammer time, as we love to call it. Hammer time will arrive, which is around the pit window, and when these other guys pit, my money says Mo's got another couple of laps of fuel, and he will absolutely go ballistic when these guys pit and try to get the overcut. And that's what they're going to have to be a bit nervous about too. You'd be a bit twitchy, saying, oh my goodness, I don't think I want to grab primes. And Mo's breathing down my neck. I don't want to have a slow pit stop and put a slow tyre on and put a whole lot of fuel in the car. I want to get back out there and keep fighting on the options. And that's the sort of pressure a driver like Mohammed Patel can put you under. Definitely.
Okay, Simicic is kind of holding pace at the moment with the leaders, but an interesting situation could be arising. Simicic is catching up to Daniel Kish. Daniel Kish could decide, I'm just going to stay out. It's so difficult to overtake here. He could hold Journey Simicic up here, perfectly within his rights to be able to do so. Let's see.
Except their teammates.
Simicic and Kish aren't.
Oh, aren't they?
No,
I'm sorry, I got that totally wrong. Pardon me.
Rival constructor teams.
Sorry, Dave.
Right.
My bad.
Okay. It's okay. It's not a problem. It's been a long day, so we can all make a mistake and get away with it. But yeah, I mean, Kiss could, if you wanted, just decide to be a pain and go long and make it difficult for Simicic. It may sacrifice his own race and perhaps helping Patel, but with the lead in the championship that Patel has got, it may be beneficial for Patel to try and help Daniel Kish out and get him scoring a few more points for the team.
Well, Kiss is 4th in the championship and he's only 5 points shy of Gosby. So, Kiss has got every right to, to want to fight for every point and optimise his race. So if he wants to optimise his race, he probably needs to pit fairly soon. 18 laps on the options is quite a long time. I can see that the marbles building up a lot on the outside of the track. I'm going to have a little look at Kiss's lap times and I'll report back to you.
No problem. Just to let you know as well that Alari Alpus is getting close to the back of John Eric Saxon, and they're not too far behind Journey Simicic. None of the leaders have pitted No, they have. Martin Gosby is in the pits. So where's Gosby going to come out?
I'll keep an eye on him, let you know what tyres he takes. Hilary Agpris is pitting as well. Gosby has taken primes as well, so he's doing the same strategy as Journey.
Well, interestingly, Gosby was what? I think he was about 10, 11 seconds behind.
Yes.
Before the pit stop.
I think it was even more. I think it was close to 20 seconds already. But I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote.
No, I don't think it was 20. I was looking at it thinking he's nearly got a pit stop in hand. It might have been 12 or 13.
Something's happened to Hilary, unless it's on the pit exit. Just lost a number of positions.
Yeah, he was. He just pitted.
He pitted.
Oh, but he's side by side with Adam Maguire. Oh, on the pit exit. Side by side through turn 3 as well. Coming to 4, it's Maguire in front. Wow, that's a little battle there between the two drivers.
And Maguire yet to pit, I guess.
Yep, I think he has to pit still.
Hoyer pits. Eras pits. Patel continues on. Kiss pits.
Okay, I'll report back to you on Hoyer. He pushes it to the limit on pit lane speed limit, locks it up as he hits the limiter line. Hoyer too electing to go for primes. And you know, I've got a feeling that because of the race length, these guys may not have a choice. We might be talking option prime to get 70 laps done.
I'm just looking at... Go ahead, Dave.
No, sorry, I was just going to say it could be busy on the pit exit here around Sergei Eras. Or someone trying to go around the outside. It's Eros Mashiuli. Not quite able to do it, but his tyres will be warmer. Eras is going to have to fight this one if he wants to stay in contention. But no, Mashiuli up the inside into turn 2. I think Eras is going to have to concede the position. Tyres just not warm enough.
Now, I think Gosby got an undercut on Hoyer, because wasn't Hoyer running in P3? He was. So through that pit stop cycle, Gosby's come out ahead of Michi Hoyer.
No, Hoyer.
You know what, Dave?
Did I get that wrong as well, did I?
Yeah, I think you need to take a nap.
Sorry, I did a 12-hour endurance race last night, so I'm shattered.
It's all right, mate. It's not. It keeps us entertaining. I mean, the great Murray Walker once said that he very nearly got fired for the mistakes he made in commentary until he proved that his mistakes were intentional because he made it more interesting. And from there on, he had a fantastic commentatory career.
Oh, well, maybe there's a hope for me. Patel in the pits, yeah.
That's what I tried to say, Patel in the pits, but it come out as Petits. Apologies for that, folks.
Let's see what he can do compared to Sergi and Hoyer.
Exactly.
Coming out now. Ooh, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close, but I think in front of Sergi.
He's done it.
Yeah, maybe even Eros.
Well, yes.
He's got the inside, yeah.
Yes, he's not only in front of Sergei Eras, but he's got a driver between them. So that is a stunning move by Patel.
And the handy thing for him there is that Eros Mashiuli started on the prime tyre, hasn't pitted yet, so potentially Mashiuli could hold up Eras, meaning that Patel could just focus on what's ahead of him. On the flip side, Mashiuli won't have a lot of fuel left in his car right now, although his tyres will be starting to get a little bit old.
Yeah, exactly.
But looking at it, over the course of the pit stop window, Yerny Simoncic has opened up the gap to 15 seconds to Martin Gosby. Adam Maguire making moves on George Vinter, I believe.
Yeah, Maguire has been stuck behind this train a little bit. I believe most of these guys running on the prime tyre, and he is on the options. I don't think he's stopped yet, but seems to be quick still. He's looking to make a move, but Saxon is also looking to make a move on Florian Becker.
Fantastic stuff. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to think that we're 23 laps in, and the remaining cars, there's only 30 seconds between a lot of them. Okay, Yerny Simoncic is in a league of his own at the moment, and in many respects, if Yerny Simoncic opens up a gap, another 3-4 seconds on that gap, he's got a free pit stop in his bag. Adam Maguire making the move. He's attacking John-Eric Saxon down towards turn 1. Side by side they go, but Saxon going deep on the brakes, trying to fight it around the outside, wheel to wheel. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Saxon may be able to attack into 2, but thinks better of it. Nice move there by Maguire.
Very nice move. And shout out to Masculi. He's on the 22nd lap he's driven on these prime tyres, and he was 16th on the grid, put himself up to P5, and yeah, the pit stop's going to put him back into 16th again. So, but he's still running. He's running good lap times. He's still doing mid 121s, which has been his pace from the beginning. Well, you know, and he's going to have his time in the sun, of course, because he will most likely pit for options next time round.
Quite possibly. I mean, the interesting thing about the prime tyre is they will do a lot of laps around this track. It's just as a driver, you don't want to carry the amount of fuel to match how far the prime tyre can go. Overall, it costs you lap time. So it's not really worth the weight penalty, so to speak. Just to let you know, Florian Becker coming under a bit of an attack by Adam Maguire. As you said, Felix, Maguire being the option tyres surrounded by primes. But also George Winter, who I have to say should have won the ace race yesterday. Not doing a bad job in 14th place at the moment for Invictus. Or perhaps it's the other team that's not got their livery updated just yet.
Yeah, Maguire really attacking Becker there. Into and out of turn 2.
Oh. Almost lost the rear end of the car there coming out of turn 3.
So Maguire is 6 laps into his option stint, and wow, is he wanting to get his money worth out of these sticky and fast tyres. So he's low fuel, pushing like mad. I always find it entertaining watching Adam Maguire's steering wheel movements, because it never exits a corner without doing about 2 or 3 corrections. I think he likes an oversteery car.
He does like a car that tends to point where he aims in. Now, somebody else that's in an interesting situation, we were talking about Sergei Edas earlier on, being behind Eros Masciuli. Well, because he's been stuck behind Masciuli, Camille Wieswer on option tyres has caught up to the back of him. So now we're into an interesting situation for Sergei Edas. But the final corner is just so tricky here that it's making it difficult for people to get a fantastic exit to be able to attack down towards turn 1.
Yes, well, Wieswer started, if you recall, pitted quite early and took fresh options after 14 laps. He was the first of our drivers to pit, but he's now 10 laps into that second stint on his options. So he needs to make them work, and I think with that sort of stint length, he's going to struggle to do a 2-stopper. He could be a 3-stop. He could be a 3-stop guy this afternoon.
It definitely could. Yeah, I mean, he'll be pitting again, in 5 laps time, so he needs to make the most of these tyres while he can. Just to give everybody a bit of an update regarding kind of lap times people are doing at the moment, Jordanna Simicic's last lap time was a 1:20.7, but he's got no stress at all out there on track at the moment. Gosby in second place is 21.2, and then we've got 21.7, 21.7, 21.8, 21.9, 21.5, 22.0, 22.0, 21.9. These guys are ever so close with their lap times. But again, I talked about it in qualifying and in warm-up, that it doesn't matter what your race pace is. Your race pace will be whatever the car ahead is doing. So if they're doing 122s, you're doing 122s until you can get past.
Eros Masciuli on his 24-lap-old primes has just gone green in Sector 1. He's just had a personal best.
Going for the move. Wieswer going to go for the move down towards turn 1, but Edas goes defensive, covers the inside. Wieswer going to try and go all the way around the outside. Absolutely plants the throttle, trying to make the most of those option tyres. He's got the inside line for 2. Needs to make sure he can get it stopped in time, cover off a switchback. But the problem there is tighten the apex of turn 3, potentially compromise the top speed up to 4, but no, he's managed to make that work quite beautifully. But for Sergei Edas, he doesn't need to worry about that at the moment, because Camille Wieswer is going to be heading to the pits soon.
Lovely bit of work from Wieswer there, taking full advantage of those options and that light car at the moment. But the piper will be paid by when he does an extra pit stop.
That it will. I mean, it'll be difficult to know how his race is going to pan out until he's done his final pit stop, as you say. Now, somebody else of interest at the moment is Martin Stefanko. Started on a prime tyre, started in the pit lane because of a late allocation. He's got himself up to 10th place, and he's right on the gearbox of Daniel Kish. So doing quite well for himself at the moment, but when Stefanko pits, he's potentially going to come out dead last. It'll be somewhere near George Winter, who also started back of the grid. Masciuli into the pits.
Yeah, Stefanko's just got to hope that his engineer puts him into clean air when he jumps on options on his next stint.
Oh, he was close enough potentially to have a go at Daniel Kish, but he didn't have the straight line speed. He hit the limiter.
Oh.
And his tyres are 25 laps old.
Okay, Yerny Simoncic has just about got enough of a gap that if he wanted to, he could pit now and come out right next to Martin Gosby. But Gosby is, they're on the same tyre. This is phenomenal pace from Yerny Simoncic compared to Gosby on the prime tyre. But I've got to think, I mean, that much of a pace difference? I mean, we're looking at 9/10 of a second. That's got to be fuel related.
Could be.
Yeah, not sure, Dave. I mean, he's got to be on a two-stop strategy, so he's got to have a decent fuel load in that car. Yeah, but he's almost a pit stop clear. Sensational driving by Yerny Simoncic, and wow, I don't want to curse him, but
Stefanko's going to have a chance. Daniel Kish just got totally crossed up through the final corner, but he still had a very good exit. Sorry to cut you off there, Dave. But yeah,
right.
Stefanko would have had an opportunity, but again, it's in the limiter. That almost looked. I'll have to see what that speed was. I mean, where's Stefanko's top speed? 296.
Yep.
Yeah, he's as quick as anybody else, but I guess with a bit of slipstream, he was on the limiter.
Well, to put it in perspective, Simoncic I don't think has had slipstream yet. I could be wrong, but he's at 296. I think he was doing 296 on his quali laps. So yeah, Stefanko perhaps needs a slightly longer 7th gear, but not a lot he can do about it now. But Daniel Kish is there for the taking if he can get a decent final corner.
Well, Kiss has only got 298, but he's probably had a slipstream. But yeah, indeed, he must have had a little bit longer 7th gear.
And Eric Andre just ahead of these guys just had a rather twitchy moment. Oh, and Daniel Kish a little sideways again through turn 11. That'll be giving Stefanko confidence. But I mean, let's see, Stefanko, if this is his 29th lap, what's he going to do? He's not going to try and go to lap 40, is he? And then do 2 option stints of 15 and 15 or something, or one stop the race? Or 30, because he would do 30, 30, 10.
Two option stints would make a lot of sense from here. He's gone deep into the race on his primes.
He's trying to do it round the outside. Kish had a little bit of a lock-up. And who's that sneaking up behind him?
That's Maguire.
It is Maguire. But yeah, Stefanko unable to do it again. He gave it a go. Unfortunate not to be able to do it.
And as exciting as this battle is, it's between two guys on worn primes. And Maguire has crept up on them on fresh options and going, come on guys, out of the way. I know you're having a great fight, but I can go faster than this.
Well, Daniel's tyres are only 8 laps long, so...
Whoa, Maguire, big tank slapper out of the long right-hander turn 5.
Yeah, that's not going to help him.
Oh, yeah, I just saw the replay of that. He did well to save that. Yes, I was saying that Daniel Kish's tyres are only 8 laps long, so it is going to be a fight for him to hold off Stefanko, who is going to have a lower fuel load, but I am interested to know how long Stefanko's going to go. Oh, Stefanko getting very sideways.
Liz were pitting again, so his tyre sponsorships definitely come through for this round, and Liz were taking primes this time round.
Yeah.
Daniel Kish closing up to an Eric Andre. I think an Eric Andre must have had a bad lap there because he's on the option tyres and he's lost a massive amount of time.
He's 13 laps into his option stint, and yes, that was a slow lap, a second off his pace for 122.8. He's been circulating in high 121s.
Just to update everybody as well, the top 4 cars all quite spread out at the moment, so no action there to speak of. This is the closest battle near the front of the field, so it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out.
20 seconds now the lead Yerny Simoncic has on Martin Gosby.
You know what? There's two more drivers that are going to join this little train of cars as well. Alari and James Sadler are closing up quite rapidly. I mean, Alari can see Adam Maguire ahead of him, and he's catching him at a vast rate of knots because he's got clear air ahead of him. But then he can see that there's just 5 cars going absolutely mental. This could get interesting. Is that Stefanko into the pits?
Yep.
Yeah, P5 to P11 is a 4-second piece of real estate.
Maguire may have a run on Saxon. No, not quite close enough. But Saxon may be able to close in now on Daniel Kish, seeing as Stefanko's got out of the way. What tyres has Stefanko gone to?
Option.
Yep.
Option. So Stefanko will be trying to go very, very quickly for these next 15 laps or so.
Well, I'm going to guess that's going to be an option stint, so a 19 and a 20 maybe, or a 20 and a 20 to the end of the race. Should be doable, especially with the track rubbering in every lap that gets completed.
Yeah, well, once the timing updates, we'll see how much clear air he's got in front of him, but it looks like it's only 7 or 8 seconds. But if he can pull 7 or 8 seconds and get on the back of that train that he was on the front of earlier, that's a nice pit stop, really. Come in, get some fresh options, and pull yourself into the back of a short queue that you're in before anyway. That would be good driving.
Yep, very true. Okay, another update from near the front. Martin Gosby still dropping off the back of Jurni Simicic, but he is opening up the gap to Michi Hoyer. He's up to about 3-4 seconds. Mohammed Patel, let's see, he's dropping off. Is he dropping off? 3 seconds behind Michi Hoyer. Yeah, I mean, these guys were close before the pit stops were done, and now they're very spread out. It'll be interesting to see what tyres they go to next to see if they can affect strategy.
Yes, well, of course, next pit stop, if we do presume that all these guys are doing a 2-stopper, next exiting the pit lane next time round, they will all be on the same fuel load. So the only variable really is the tyre compound.
And Florian Becker bumping uglies through turn 2. Florian Becker's managed to get ahead. I didn't see the start of that, but yeah, definitely getting a bit physical, those two.
They had a little bit of action wheel to wheel earlier, didn't they, into turn 1?
Let's see the replay of that move from Florian Becker. Let's see, on board with Florian, coming on the main straight to turn 1. Masciuli doesn't defend, and it seems that Becker just was able to take the inside. Then Masciuli took the switch back, but of course turn 2 is a left-hander, so will be for Gosby. Gosby pushed him out wide a little bit, manages to stay ahead.
Okay, just to update you, and Eric Andre into the pits. That's freed up the gaggle of cars that were catching him up, and could tell, the viewers couldn't, but we could really tell his tyres had absolutely had it. So yeah, about time he gets rid of those options. Probably going for a set of prime tyres now, I would guess.
I'll have a quick little look at Andre and give you a bit of background. Yeah, two 16-lap stints. So 38 laps to go. He's going to have to stop again.
Oh, I think you might be right. It might, if he's on primes now, it might be prime and an option. And I mentioned a little while ago that Alari Alpus is catching up to Adam Maguire. He's on the back of him. So it doesn't really matter what tyres you're on. If you're stuck behind a driver, then cars behind can catch you up so quickly. And that's exactly what Alari is doing. James Sadler's not too far away either. And Camille Wieswer, you mentioned, Dave, about him pitting earlier on. He's got a nice bit of clear traffic around him, clear road around him at the moment. That'll give him maximum opportunity to get the most out of those harder tyres.
Also, something to note, Jurni Simicic is on almost 25 seconds out of Gosby now, which is close to a pit stop. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jurni coming in for an extra pit stop.
Yes, I mean, he could if he wanted to just taunt them with fastest lap, but you know what? He's making such fantastic pace on those primes.
Yeah, but it could also be that he's running a lower fuel load and going for a pit stop.
True enough. Yes, that could be the reason. Yep, thank you. Good point.
I would say that with the closeness of the pace of the WC drivers over the course of the season, looking at this has got to be it's got to be fuel related, which would suggest the extra pit stop. I mean, it's not like okay, again, the viewers didn't get to see what happened in Ace. It was Maguire, another tank slapper. I know that Sergi Eras won the Ace race yesterday. He did a 3-stop strategy, but he didn't need to do his final stop. That was kind of sticking the knife in, twisting it a bit, and going for fastest lap at the end of the race. I believe that was my prediction anyway. But yeah, looking at what the gap Journey's got at the moment, it opens up that possibility for the 3-stop. But also, it does open up that possibility of going to a 2-stop and having a long prime stint. And it doesn't matter if he loses a bit of time. He's already got quite a healthy margin. Maguire into the pits.
Yeah, they're interesting questions. What would you guys do if you were Journey Simicic? I suppose the trouble is he's already decided because he's got a given fuel load on board, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, if you remember, when you asked me at the start of the race, before the start of the race, what strategy to go for, and I said there's only one person that can go, this is what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to stick to. And it's the leader, and at the moment that's Journey Simicic. So I think whatever strategy he thought he's going to do, he's just going to stick with it, because at the moment it's working. Adam Maguire comes back out in 14th place, just ahead of George Vinter, and he's on another set of option tyres.
I'll have a look at George and let you know what he's on. Well, I mean, we know he's on prime, 10-lap-old prime, so his prime should be working fairly well at the moment.
That they will. Let's see. Hoyer. I think Hoyer is closing in a little bit on Gosby. Does visually look like he is a little bit closer. Sergi Eras, he's catching up to Mohammed Patel. We may have a bit of a
last
fight.
time round, Hoyer was 0.6 of a second quicker than Gosby. So that's just the last lap.
I must admit, Sergi Eras is definitely showing fully what he is capable of. I know Sander Kallas, the current Ace Championship leader, Felix, you know the rear of his car well. Sander has raced in WC and put up one hell of a show on. Proved that he's more than capable of racing at this level.
Maguire and Andre into turn 1. Big battle. Sorry to interrupt, but there was a bit going on there. It's still engaged in battle into turn 2. Maguire attempting to go around the outside on those lovely sticky fresh options. Ooh. Gets a bit greedy there and puts his right rear onto the grass. And almost a tiny bit of contact there. Maguire is a man who does not want to take no for an answer at the moment as they battle into turn 4. Turn 5, the long right-hander. He won't be able to get him into the kink, into the chicane here. Very slow, turn 6, 7. But it'll be on again. Surely it'll be on again when they come around to the pit straight. So sorry to interrupt there, but there was a bit going on.
No problem at all.
In fact, Maguire seems to have just backed off just a little. Or he's coming at him again. He's setting himself to come after him again. As they go through the turn 13, 14 complex and onto the main straight. And let's see if Maguire's got a good drive off this corner on his fresh options. And he's really being very ambitious under his rear wing. Andre takes a defensive posture, moves to the inside and says, right, you can drive around me if you can, buddy. Squeezes him to the limit of the law there, but that was a very nice bit of defence. But it looks like Maguire's got the upper hand now. Maguire has pulled it off. He's on the apex. If Andre can stay with him, and he can't quite stay with him, that was a classic overtaking move there from Maguire. Took 3 corners to get it done, but very nice driving from Adam.
Sergi Eras within half a second of Mohammed Patel. Sergi Eras is on a charge. I think he's taking the positive words we've been saying about him and it's giving him the Mansell-style Silverstone fan boost. Because, yeah, he's absolutely flying right now. Simicic still half a second quicker per lap. Michi Hoyer has been trying to close the gap on Gosby. With the last couple of times around, they've pretty much matched each other on lap time. Oh, that's massive sideways moment on the exit of turn 1. That may have just compromised any opportunity throughout the course of this lap. Also looks like Martin Stefanko is ever so close to the back of Eros Masciuli, a tenth between them, and Stefanko, being on the option tyre, is going to want to try and make as many moves as he can. So as they're heading towards turn 2, he's going to flick towards the outside. Is he going to go for a cutback? No, he's going to try and go all the way around. Can he hang it out there? He can. He's going to compromise turn 4. He's had to lift off. Masciuli runs a little bit wide. Both of them compromised. He's not going to try into turn 4, is he? No. Backs out of it. Nice try. Nice try. Didn't work on this occasion, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him try that again. With a little bit more confidence next time around, he might be able to make that work.
Yeah, they're really going at it, those guys. Turn 4 is one of only 2 corners that have names here, and that the local name for this corner is Mansell. Turn 4 is named after Nigel Mansell, after a big accident he had there. And turn 11 is named after John Lacey.
Information, great bit of information, but you miss Felix's excitement of going, Simičić has pitted, which he has done. He's back out on track on a set of options, isn't he, Felix?
Yep, he is. Whilst that battle was going on, I was switching cameras all over the place. I also spotted Simičić being in the pit lane. He went for a option tire, so he's also 10 seconds almost in front of Gosby and Michi Hoyer. So,
and he's in the beautiful position that both of them have to pit again.
Yeah, exactly. So
in about 10 laps.
And he also has the quicker tires. Makes a little bit of a mistake into turn 11, but I think he's starting to get golden here for this race. Of course, there's still, what is it, 30 laps remaining, but he's doing a great job.
He definitely is, but I mean, it is something that we've seen over the course of this weekend. Again, apologies viewers that you haven't seen Ace yet. But this is one of those circuits, there's a few on the calendar where if you're in first and you can open up a little bit of a gap, you can just disappear. But everything's got to be right for you. It's got to be the right setup, it's got to be the right tyres, the right fuel load, the right strategy. The battles behind you have got to take place at the right time to give you the gaps. So everything's got to fall into place, and sometimes it can it's easy to look at a result and go, wow, they finished 30 seconds ahead. It must have been absolutely blitzed it as Sadler enters the pits. Well, don't get me wrong, at the moment Simičić is on course for doing that. But it's every little bit of what's happened coming together that makes it so impressive. It's not just, oh, he's a second quicker over the course of 70 laps. Now, I'm keeping an eye on Sergei Eras here because I've got a feeling that he's absolutely loving this at the moment, and he'll be loving it if I'm pronouncing his name right as well. He gives me so much grief about that. Because he says to me, he's like, Dave, do you realise that you've called me Sergi and Sergei 20 different times in the same broadcast? I'm like, yes, I know, I do it to annoy you. As Simičić posts a new fastest lap of the race. But yeah, Eras on the back of Mohammed Patel, going toe-to-toe. Absolutely great stuff. And let's see, what, it's going to be about 4 laps until these guys pit again, I reckon.
Yeah. Also with Sergi, you definitely need to say that he's Spanish.
Is he? Is he Spanish?
Yeah, he's Spanish.
Yeah.
That's his country where he comes from. Not something he himself proclaims he is.
What, Catalan, or is he from Sheffield, or is he from Leeds?
No, it's Catalan. I mean, wants to be his own country and all.
The flag of Eras. Okay, let's see. I'm going to have a quick look at...
Journey's just gone purple with a 1:19.5. I'm sure you guys picked that up already.
Yeah, we did. But thanks for the info, Dave, because it leads into what I'm about to say. That lap time from Jordanna Simičić is 1.8 seconds faster than Gosby and Hoyer's last lap.
Yeah.
which means that Simoncic, as you rightly said a few moments ago, David and Felix, Simoncic are going to pump in fast laps now on the option tyres. These guys are going to have to pit again, but then Simoncic will pit again for another set of options, and he's going to be faster again. I think Simoncic has played this one absolutely spot on at the moment.
This, the only other time I can remember, and I'm not saying it's Encyclopedia Britannica quality information, but I can only remember Journey doing this in Singapore. So he covered them off by pitting and returning to the lead after his pit stop. But the only time I can remember in a World Championship race, a driver having the luxury of saying, well, I think I'll pit again, get some fresh tyres and retain the lead, was Parizis in Melbourne 2 years ago, when he was absolutely on storming form and did an extra pit stop and just put in some amazing lap times at the end and just went option prime because he could.
Ooh, just to let you know, John Eric Saxon and Larry Alpers ever so close together. But I'm just having a look at Martin Stefanko. He's all over the back of Masciuli still, but Adam Maguire is catching up to them. Two people that like overtaking and like getting the car a little bit sideways is Maguire and Stefanko. They're both on options. Masciuli on the primes. Let's see, Alari is, yeah, he's ever so close to John Eric Saxon, and John Eric Saxon right behind Daniel Kish. So there's still plenty going on out there on track at the moment.
Yeah, there sure is, and the Lari is showing the sort of pace, if you can win a pro race dominantly, the sort of pace that works out in World Championship, it can get you into the top 10, which is a fantastic achievement.
Well, I mean, to put it into perspective as well, I know Felix wanted to say something a moment ago, but I mentioned a couple of times, George Vinter should have won the ace race yesterday. Sergei Aras did win the ace race yesterday. George wasn't able to qualify for the WC race this evening, but George Vinter, who's had phenomenal pace here all weekend, struggling a little bit down in 15th place at the moment. So sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are at a track. As I said, sometimes it's just got to fall in place for you. For George, hasn't happened in this race. Maybe it's an after effect of what happened yesterday. Whereas for Sergei Aras, he's brimming full of confidence, and he's hunting Mohammed Patel, potentially the next WC champion.
Yeah, which is amazing. It'll be a massive boost for Sergei. George is one of the few drivers on the grid who are experimenting with a VR headset. He doesn't use a computer screen, he uses those VR goggles and drives in virtual reality, so he's still getting accustomed to that. And he's a driver who likes to get a lot of laps under his belt to just find every square inch of the track in preparation, and when he gets a lot of laps done, he tends to be very quick.
Sergei Aras very nearly had a fantastic opportunity to attack Mohammed Patel, but just had a slight oversteer moment through the final corner. Stefanko is going to have to be careful as well, because he's got Adam Maguire right on his gearbox.
So Gosby's got the upper hand on Hoyer at the moment, only by a couple of tenths. And is Michi Hoyer going to be saying, well, look,
Stefanko is top end, is topping out again. That's hurting any opportunity of overtaking. Sorry to cut you off, Dave, but yeah, it was the closest he'd been for a while. He's going to have an attack now down into turn 2, and he's going to try and go around the outside again, but this time goes a little too deep, going for a switchback to open up turn 3. He's going to carry more speed through the corner, but he's just too far away to be able to attack into turn 4. I think Stefanko is getting a little frustrated there, because he realises if he's going to make the move, he's got to do it elsewhere on the track. And around here, that's not easy to do. It's turn 1, turn 2, and pretty much turn 12. They're your opportunities.
And very hard to do it where he did then. He just got off the rubbered line a little bit, and if you can pull it off, you're in a perfect position for turn 3. But if you don't manage to stay side by side, you just drift rearwards.
Sergei Aras still close to the back of Patel. Alari still close to the back of John Eric Saxon, and Daniel Kish has pulled away from these two a little bit. Plenty of battles still going on out there. But don't forget, folks, we've still got another round of pit stops for a number of these guys, which I think should be happening from this lap onwards. These guys, many of these guys on the prime tyres are on sort of lap 24, lap 25, and there's 25 laps to go. So pit stop window well and truly open. But this is, I mean, even this last pit stop window could have a massive effect. I mean, Martin Gosby, he pits now. He's going to come out. He's going to come out potentially in quite a bit of traffic if it's a slightly long stop.
I see some skid marks. What happened? Surely Florian Becker.
He's okay. He must have had a bit of a moment and dropped back.
Yeah, because he's right in front of...
No, Florian Becker's got
Gosby
ahead.
is pitting, guys. Martin Gosby and Michi Hoyer. Michi covering Gosby's strategy.
Okay, I think we may need a couple of replays here in a moment, because I'm pretty sure that Maguire was ahead of Florian Becker.
Yeah.
Becker got ahead, but Maguire just overtook him through turn 6 and 7.
I think Gosby made a mistake, or what is it? Becker made a mistake. Let's just see the replay. And that is not Becker. Oops. This is not Becker as well. Let's see what happened. He did spin indeed. Where I said where the tire marks there, exit of turn 3, he spun almost, and therefore he rejoined right in between Stefanko and Maguire, and then Maguire overtook him.
Yeah, I think Maguire took full advantage of a driver that's just overheated their tyres. Sorry to have cut you off there, Dave, when you was talking about the pit stops. It was all getting a little bit frantic. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. We're here for the action, and action on track beats action in the pit lane anytime.
Okay, so what news have we got from those guys that pitted? Was it
well,
Gosby
and Michi Hoyer entered the pit lane line astern from P2 and P3. But Gosby has rejoined in P4 and Hoyer has rejoined in P7. So that round of pit stops really not working out perfectly for Michi Hoyer. Albeit I'll check the cars in front. And Sergei Eras pitting as we speak.
He's pitting for an undercut. I think he's pitting to try and jump Mohammed Patel. I don't think it'll work, but I think that's why he's pitting. A very short stint. No, actually, he extended this stint. My apologies. My apologies. He's gone long on this stint, but I do think he's trying to jump Patel here. I don't think it'll work, though.
I'm just going to try and see what's happening with... how long ago did Eras pit?
Just now.
Eras is due to pit very soon, so he'll drop out of the picture. Kiss. I'm going to look at him for us. Yeah, Kiss and Eras should drop out of the picture, and that'll put Hoyer back on Gosby's tail again. And then it just remains to be seen what Patel can do, given a little bit of clear air in front of him, and he's got 23.5 seconds of clear air in front of him, by virtue of the incredible job that Jordanna Simicic has done.
I think Patel needs to go a few more laps and then try an option stint at the end.
Well, he's done 25 laps on these tyres, and he did 21 on his options at the beginning, so he's certainly not going to struggle to do a few more laps on these tyres. And as so often is the case, it's going to be the guy who's carrying the most fuel gets the job done. He's still on very good pace. He's doing 21.2s. He's going as quick as he's been all stint at the moment.
I think Patel's going to go a couple more laps. He will put the option tyres on. That's going to make it difficult for Eras to attack him. But this is where Eras is going to have to be quick now. But with a heavy car, it's going to be difficult for him to do. Let's see, Stefanko's still stuck behind Eros Mashiuli. Is he going to be able to? No, he's not close enough to attack in any way, shape or form. But Maguire seems to have lost a lot of time in comparison to Stefanko. I think Maguire has had a problem.
Ilaria Alpus into the pits.
Yeah, Maguire has been off track, so let's see if that is the reason.
I think Ilaria...
for the replay.
I'm going to predict an oversteer moment.
Yeah. Well, it's on the exit of a corner, and it is exactly that. Oversteer moment.
Ilari, I think, got a drive-through. He has just driven through pit lane without stopping. I think Ilari had to serve a drive-through.
That could be. Perhaps Mohammed Patel comes into the pit lane.
Okay, earlier on we were talking about an Eric Andre being ahead of a train of cars. He's now got George Vinter ahead of him, James Sadler behind him, and Alari, who's just served that drive-through quite a way back. But a nice three-car battle going on there. Maguire trying to catch back up to John Eric Saxon. Gosby and Patel, no, Patel and Kissing to the pits.
You were bang on with Patel. He has put options, fresh options on the car.
Is he going to stay ahead of Sergi Eras, though? Yeah, look at that. Look at the amount of time he's gained by staying out.
He's also on the quicker tire. Eras is on the primes, and Patel's on the options.
Yes, and Patel got his options to work for 21 laps in his opening stint. So he's got he's only got 22 laps to bring it home. So similar stint length.
Now, does Martin Gosby go for the option tyres now as well to try and fend off Michi Hoyer a little bit more, but also perhaps to try and close that gap in a little bit to Jurni Simoncic if he can?
I don't think Gosby will stop again. Gosby and Hoyer both just stopped 3 laps ago for primes, and I think they will bring it home from here.
Exactly. So it's if they can bring down this gap to 20 seconds, I would be surprised to see. Then they will have a challenge at Simoncic, but at the moment Simoncic, the gap between him and Gosby and Hoyer is just way too big.
Tell you what might get interesting is Patel is not far off the rear of Hoyer. Hoyer is shot on primes, Patel is shot on options, and if Mo Patel decides it's hammer time and really starts to put it out there on these options and not conserve them, because quite frankly, if he gets in front of Hoyer, it doesn't matter how bad his tyres are, he can hold him off. So Patel is really breathing down Hoyer's neck now. I'll have a quick look at the lap times, but Patel is flying, and he's only a couple of seconds, 1.5 seconds down the road from Michi Hoyer. So we'll see. Last lap time is not representative because that was his out lap. So we'll see what they look like this time round. But you can just, as Murray Walker would say, you can see visually the gap getting smaller. Patel is getting very close to Hoyer, and this I'm getting deja vu from several races this season. Michi Hoyer getting the upper hand on Mohammed Patel, but in the final stint, Patel finally coming up to him and saying, Shazam.
Only 7/10 in the second sector, quicker already, so...
From what I've heard though, Patel doesn't sneak up and go Shazam. Patel sneaks up and then kills everybody on another game, doesn't he, Felix? he's a team killer.
Oh, you all play Counter-Strike or something, don't you?
Something else that might get a little bit interesting as well. I mean, just to touch on what you were saying there, Dave, Patel, with the option tyres, got every opportunity of catching up to Michi Hoyer, no doubt about it. But somebody that's just pitting is Martin Stefanko. We know he's no slouch, he's a fast driver. He's just been stuck for God knows how many laps behind Masciuli, who's been on the prime tyre. So whether Patel can attack Hoyer, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, something that could get interesting. Stefanko's pitting, he's potentially going to come out in traffic, but Camille Wieswer, he's got one more pit stop to do. He's definitely come out in a gaggle of cars. Eros Masciuli, 7th down to what? 13th down to Stefanko. There's not a lot between them.
So Patel is going a full second quicker than Hoyer. He's almost always attacking Hoyer into the middle of sector 2. Oh, this is going to be the longest 20 laps of Michi Hoyer's life, I can tell you. Patel is all over him like a cheap suit. Hoyer is thinking, oh my God, it's at least 10 laps until Mo's options start to go away. And Hoyer is in all sorts of trouble at the moment. Patel's got beautiful fresh options, he's got a quick car, and he is seen blood in the water. He's really after Hoyer. Hoyer's going to want to have a fantastic drive off turn 14, and it is, just as we know, so much harder to do it on the primes than it is on the option. I'm going to have a look at Hoyer's gearbox.
Patel there tried to do it in a spot where you normally would totally not expect it, and maybe that's also a bit how he likes to do it, as I think somebody just crashed into the wall.
Just so you know, Wieswer is into the pits. It might be Adam Maguire. Adam Maguire is dropping places.
I don't know. Let's see on the replay. Coming out of 13, did he just spin the car or something? Or did he... Oh, he actually did! Oh, almost spun the car. Lost the wing end plate, I believe. And then immediately went into the pit lane. But also has some suspension damage, I believe.
It's so easy to do that in that corner, though. You can take it exactly the same way 50 times in a row, but then one time you're fractionally off where you've been driving before and it'll just go on you, especially if your tyres are hurting a little bit as well. Camille came out in 9th place, just ahead of an Eric Andre who's going slow. He's just let James Sadler through, and Sadler's just gone through turn 6 and 7. I don't know if these guys have just... Oh, Sadler's got no front wing.
Yeah. Let's see the replay of that. What happened there?
Mo Patel attacking Hoyer again. Hoyer looking a bit more composed than he did last time round. Will he go defensive? Hoyer has not gone defensive. What is Michi doing? He's staying on the outside. He's making Mohammed go around the inside. Hoyer is going to retain the inside for turn 2. Can't brake quite as late with those prime tyres. And Patel has pulled it off. Classic move, turn 1, turn 2 move. Just surprised that Hoyer didn't go defensive into turn 1. And he allowed Patel to take the apex at turn 1, and that was all he needed.
Maybe he felt that he had the straight line speed and had him covered off, but turns out he didn't, and he didn't. And Patel, yeah, up to 3rd place.
So Patel has gained 5 places, I believe, from his grid position. I think he was 8th on the grid. But I may be wrong. I've been wrong about a couple of things today. But yeah, stunning move from Patel, tactical move and on-track move.
Michi Hoyer is going to have to be careful, though. He can't lose concentration now, because if he does, there's a certain Catalan who wants his own flag, who's going to hunt him down and pass him if he's got any opportunity. And I'm wondering, you know, whether Sergi Eras might be, I don't know, banging his head against the wall a little bit and thinking, you know, oh, if I could have just gone an extra 2 laps on my primes, I could have put the options on and he'd be right behind Mohammed Patel now, potentially passing Michi Hoyer.
Well, the only other thing, you know, that Michi can potentially do is that his primes are only 8 laps old, so he's still got a good set of primes under him, or they haven't got the same turn or pace as Mo Patel's options. If Michi Hoyer can stay within hunting distance and hope that Patel's tyres are going to go off, because Patel's going to run a pretty long option stint, but Simičić into the pits, leader into the pits.
And he's going to come back out in the lead by about 20 seconds. I mean, there's nothing against Martin Gosby or any other drivers, but the strategy that Simičić has been able to play out today has worked wonders up to now. But yeah, it comes out 22-second gap to 2nd place.
Yeah. And
it's a bit of, like you said in the introduction, Dave, it's a strategy born of the fact that he had pole position and he could do whatever he wanted, and he had pure pace. He's just driven off the front of this grid.
I mean, in fairness, the pace that he's shown in practice has been very impressive and unreplicable by a majority of the team as well. But it is so reminiscent of that drive in Singapore, which pretty much went the same way, didn't it? Got pole, did his own thing, and managed to take a fantastic victory. Obviously, still 15 laps left of this race to go. So anything could still happen. Let's see, and Eric Andre heading into the pits. That's going to put Stefanko up into 9th place and Masciuli up into 10th. Masciuli has recently pitted as well. He's on option tyres to the end of the race. So, is Michi Hoyer at risk of being caught by Sergi Eras? I think the answer, unfortunately, Dave, is yes, because Sergi has managed to get that gap down quite considerably. Now, I know we've seen this at a couple of races this season, and Felix, you might remember this, where Michi has just not really been able to get the prime tyres switched on. Do you think that could be another factor here, or could it be the energy-sapping situation of this race?
Well, I'm not sure how much time Michi has been spending on the prime. He's a very thorough guy. the only other thing that might be happening is Mishy's been doing a lot of training in GT cars for this World's Fastest Gamer, and he was, as we know, we're very proud of him. He made the final race, in fact we had 2 guys from Avid Chronic Racing in the final, and he's been doing a lot of hours and a lot of lap time in these GT cars. And do you just lose that tiny bit of touch when you're really just focusing on the open wheeler? I don't know. I'm not fast enough to know.
George Vinter is out of the race.
Yeah, he's retired.
He's been out of the race for I think.
Half a minute.
I've only just spotted, so apologies that I'd only just spotted it, but unfortunate for George, yeah, out of this race. I'm just trying to have a look at what sort of battles we've got out there at the moment. Could Patel catch Gosby? It'd be difficult, 7 seconds between them, but if Patel's able to match Yerny's kind of pace, you never know. Sadler is attacking, and Eric Andre, is that an Eric? Oh, that was odd. That was odd. You might want to have a look at that, Felix, because it looked like James was lining him up for an attack, and then Eric went a little wide and then just didn't go anywhere.
Liswa is attacking John-Eric Saxon. Liswa is has the upper hand on pace at the moment by about nearly a second last time around. As we know, Liswa's got a bit of a fresh option tyre habit this afternoon, so no doubt he's on fresh rubber. Saxon will be on older tyres, so Liswa's got his moment in the sun, and he's going to launch an attack on Saxon pretty smartly.
Sorry to undercut you, Dave, but what happened to an Eric Andre is I think his car went into neutral, and
that will explain it.
Yeah, so therefore he didn't have any drive out of the last corner.
Yeah, that'll be why he didn't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere in neutral, that's for certain. I'm just having a look at the drivers' last lap times, and I'm not sure if this is interesting or not, but Simicic's last lap, we know he's on option tyres. He's just done a 1:19.6. That lap would have put him in the top 10 in Pro. Just to put it in perspective, and he's still got 15 laps of the race to do pretty much. Gosby's doing 1:21.4s. Mohammed Patel, though, isn't really going much faster than Martin Gosby. And Gosby is on the prime tyre, so I think Patel is kind of just looking after these tyres and going for the position. Michi Hoyer, 21.5. Sergei Eras is 0.3 quicker last time around than Michi Hoyer. Let's see what they do on this occasion. Hoyer ups the pace at 1:21.1, but Eras matches him.
Okay, we're going to have an attack now. Sorry, David. We're going to have an attack from Liswa on Saxon. He's pulled him in another 0.6 of a second. I think he's got the gearing to go after him, although his exit turn 14 final corner is not fantastic. But I know his car will do at least 2.99 top speed. But no, Saxon's got his car geared beautifully as well and manages to hold him off. Sorry, Dave, back to you.
No problem whatsoever. But yeah, it just surprised me a little bit there that, well, it does surprise me that Patel's not matching Simicic's pace, but it doesn't surprise me that he may just be going, look, okay, if I push too hard I might get nothing, I might as well just consolidate, take the 3rd place. Camille Weaver, though, he's not consolidating, he's attacking full on, isn't he, Dave?
Well, exactly, and Patel, very, very tactically astute racer, and he just knew that he could cook his options, get in front of Hoyer, and once in front of Hoyer, go into tyre management mode, and that's exactly what he's done. There's no way he's going to find 6 seconds on the next guy up the road, Gosby. So he's used his fresh options to get track position, and now he's just going to manage them home. Full credit to Saxon. He is holding off a rampaging Liswa here, and Liswa is not making big dents on him now. In fact, very same lap time last time round. Liswa just as close again. Can Liswa get a really good drive off? He tries to square off turn 14 a bit to get the car perpendicular and really get the power down. But Saxon is just managing to really get some great top speed. He's got 295. Liswa dives into the inside. This is on for young and old now as they exit turn 1, heading down to left-hand turn 3. Liswa will need to get inside to make this work. Saxon doesn't leave him enough room. Clever car positioning there. And Liswa's now relegated to following him around for another lap. So nice defensive work from John-Eric Saxon.
Guys, just to let you know.
Liswa is extending there significantly on lap 4, so he's going to turn 4. He's going to really need to watch himself there, watch his lap times, watch his pace, because
Hoyer's catching Patel.
Ah, interesting. Tyre theories coming home to roost.
I'd say perhaps a little early for the tyres to be going off, but yeah, I've noticed over the last few laps, it might just be Patel just saving a bit of fuel, but yeah, that gap has come down to about a second. But also, I mean, quite often people may go, for example, oh, look at 12, 13, 14, 15, they're all a lap down. Well, to be fair, 13, 14th and 15th are within about a second and a half of each other. So they're still fighting for pride. But yeah, it's interesting what's going on with Mohammed Patel, Michi Hoyer. Netrex, they're not anything to do with Musto, are they?
No.
I was just wondering, because I'm just thinking Michi Hoyer catches up to Mohammed Patel, can't go anywhere, but Sergei Adas is going to catch him up.
Yeah.
Conspiracies all over the place.
They're not sister teams.
Okay, just clarify that. No problem. I wasn't insinuating anything, but it's just interesting that Patel has seemed to have dropped his pace, or Hoyer has picked his up. And now we do have a very close 3-car battle for the last 9 laps for the final podium position.
It is Patel dropping his pace slightly. Went from very low 121s to mid 121s. Last time round was not a good lap, a 122 even. So Patel's pace has come off ever so slightly. Hoyer's pace has improved ever so slightly from a high 121 to a low 121. So let's see what these guys are up to. But certainly Hoyer is going to come back at him and say, rightio Mo, show me how well you can manage these options around here, because I don't think I can do 23 laps on them. Show me how you can do that. And Sergei Adas has a front row seat for the show.
I mean, it's an interesting situation for Sergei Adas, isn't it? I mean, we've praised him so much in this race, and now, as you say, he gets to sit there and watch Michi Hoyer attacking Mohammed Patel. But he's going to be sitting there. He's probably thinking, go on, guys, just nudge into each other and let me through. He's got every possibility of legitimately taking 3rd place off these guys.
It's a funny thing, just looking at the body language of Michi Hoyer's car, when Patel came and attacked him early on in the piece, it almost looked like, you know, Michi's car wasn't really under him, and I don't know whether it was nerves, but potentially it was a combination of fuel load and tyre temps. And the primes are fully in now, and the tank is getting lower, and Michi is looking a lot more assertive, a lot more confident with the car under him at the moment, and Michi has gone into attack mode. He was the hunted before, but he's really starting to look like the hunted and putting as much pressure on Mo Patel as he can.
I have seen from Michi a couple of times this season something happen in a race. I'm thinking back to Turkey when he was leading. That was a race where he did struggle with the prime time, and he ended up making a mistake and being overtaken, and the frustration of that lasted a couple of laps. And I'm just wondering if that may be what happened when Patel got past him earlier on. A little bit of frustration that took a lap or two to get out of his mind, because what you don't want is that frustration going from your mind to your right foot, because otherwise you end up unfortunately doing what we saw Adam Maguire do earlier with too much oversteer. Was Adas, a very twitchy moment on the curb there. But yeah, so it could be a case of he's just had to take a lap or two to calm himself down, but this is giving us plenty of action to watch here.
Are you suggesting that Michi Hoyer comes from the Italian-speaking part of Germany, Dave?
It depends. Can he do the hand pose where he holds his thumb and his finger together? No offence meant anybody.
Oh, Michele D'Alessandro will take great offence in that.
My apologies all. I've been keeping an eye on Eric Andre and on Camille Wiesworth. They're not fighting each other, but they are both trying to attack cars on the circuit. And Eric Andre, every time I've gone on board with him, has almost crashed. so I'm tempted not to watch him anymore. But he's really applying pressure to James Sadler. He's got close on a couple of occasions, but he's also very close to joining me in the hospital. Camille Wiese was dropped off a little bit from the back of John-Eric Saxon, so I think that battle to fully focus on is Patel, Hoyer and Elas, but I will keep an eye on what's kicking off further around the track.
Yeah, Liz was definitely backed off. It's I just had a funny metaphor come to mind, and it's going into battle with options against somebody with primes. It's a bit like going into a sword fight with a sword made of ice.
It's raining.
What the?
You what?
It is raining.
It is raining. Oh, it's
in
raining
Hungary
heavy as well. It's raining heavy.
It's raining in Hungary. It's raining in Hungary.
Mohammed Patel may be perfectly positioned. If Patel, Hoyer and Eras pit straight away, which they
They
don't.
don't.
Oh, Hoyer nearly lost
Hoyer
it.
does.
He's into the pits.
Hoyer and Eras do.
follows him.
Okay.
Ooh.
Clever move, because the track can get wet very, very quickly. Goodness gracious. And I'm sure our veteran viewers know what's going on here, but we are plugged in live to a real-world weather station near the track. And if it starts to rain in Hungary, it starts to rain in our server. So nobody knows what's going on. It's not pre-programmed. This is the real-world weather, and it's as unpredictable as the weather. And with 7 laps to go, this has thrown an absolute curveball into the mix.
Everything.
Everyone's gone for full wets too.
I'm keeping an eye on Simoncic. He's just coming around the penultimate corner now. Gosby is around about turn 5. And Simoncic is into the pits. Looked like he thought about carrying on. Realised he can't do it. Martin Gosby nearly loses the car through sector 2, through turns 8 and 9. He's coming through turns 10 and 11 now. It is going to be treacherous. Simoncic was slow through here, but you're right, Felix. This could change everything. And Hoyer and Eras, they could potentially jump both Patel and Gosby.
Patel is having a horrible lap on the wet track in these slick tyres.
Let's see, Yerny Simoncic comes back out in the lead on the full wet tyre. Gosby into the pits.
Hoyer's car looking very planted, and he's got to be so mega committed here. He knows this is going to be the biggest undercut of his career, and the car looks fabulous on the full wets.
Yeah, Gosby and Patel into the pits. I think Hoyer may be too far back.
Yeah, he might be. He's 20 seconds back.
Gosby's gone into us. Patel gone full wets. Michi Hoyer coming into the final corner now. Mohammed Patel is on his way.
It's going to be close. He's on. Patel's still on the speed limiter. Michi at full speed on the straight. This is going to be. No, I think Patel's going to have him.
Yeah.
And you know what that is? It's it was a nightmare lap for Mo on the slicks on the track getting wetter, but it was getting wetter still by the time Michi Hoyer did his lap. But now we've got a whole different ball game. Whose car's set up is optimised for the wet?
No one's.
This is the excitement of wet weather. They would have all adjusted their front wing setting. They'd have all moved their brake bias. This is just exciting stuff.
Okay, so Martin Gosby's on Inters, Alari Alpus is on Inters, Adam Maguire is still on the prime tyre, Becker is on Inters, Sadler on full wets, and Eric Andre on Inters. So a couple of different tyre choices out there, but who's been the big winners and big losers out of that one? Let's see, the top 3 stay the same. Well, top 5, 6 stay the same. So after all that excitement, nothing happens.
Well, you know, I think something will happen because I don't think the Inters are doing the job. Gosby is struggling a bit with these Inters.
He's quickest though.
Is he?
Yep.
Wow.
He's quicker in the second and the first sector than Simoncic and Patel.
Okay, thank you very much.
I've got to say, this is absolutely mental. I don't think any one of us 3 sat in the commentary box, looked out the window to see if there was a possibility of rain.
No, it didn't.
It never rains in Hungary. It took 23 years from their first race for them to have a wet race in the real world.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, how difficult is it as well, Felix, I'll ask you this. How difficult is it? You know what, the sun's coming out again. It's not going to dry up again too rapidly, is it? Wieswer, Stefanko, moves being made. Is that pit lane? No, that was on track. That was actually an actual overtake But yeah, it looks like the sun is definitely coming out again. So maybe it's Hurricane Irma just dropping a little cloud over Hungary and saying, "Don't worry, Europe, it's coming soon."
Yeah, I think Irma just took a little detour to Hungary to excite us.
Yes.
John-Eric Saxon's come out of this okay, because he's now got Stefanko between him and the rampaging Liswa.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, for anyone that's 3-stopping, it effectively added another pit. I mean, okay, everybody's effectively had to pit again, but for someone like Wieswa that was making gains on his fresher tyres towards the end of a race, that advantage is gone. I mean, I dread to think what it's like for Simoncic or Gosby up at the front there and thinking, oh, everything's comfortable. Hang on a minute. But yeah, Felix, I was going to say, you've done 60, 65 laps of a race and all of a sudden it does this. How as a driver do you cope with that? Or does it just keep you awake, or sort of wake you up again and keep the focus?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, nobody from here, I think, was prepared for this at all. It's just, yeah, it's only a short distance to the finish, so it's just manage and get to the finish without losing too much places and maybe gaining a few. But most drivers, yeah. Oh, Gosby! Oh, almost lost the second.
Well, it looks like Camille Wieswa is struggling a little bit out there, and he's someone that I know was not expecting wet weather. I am just wondering if... I mean, is Gosby still quickest on the intermediate
he is still quickest. He's a second quicker on those inters, so he's made the right call.
For now he has, at least.
We just had a change of position between Eras and Hoyer, I think.
Yeah, I think Hoyer's made a mistake there. He's had a very, very slow... well, no, sector one's not that slow, but yeah, he's definitely had a problem there.
And
yeah, he had a problem in the long right-hander before the chicane, otherwise known as turn 5. And Mishi just got oversteer. He just got the fronts hooked up and the rears didn't. He spun the car on the power to get facing. He ended up facing backwards, and that's allowed Sergi Eras through.
Yeah, Florian Becker also made a mistake, lost his front wing, and lost a lot of positions with that as well. Now it's to do a whole lap in the wet without a front wing.
He's going to have to be careful as well, because he's got, let's see, James Sadler and Martin Gosby catching him up. So he's got race second place driver, and now James Sadler, which is for position, but Florian Becker with no front wing may catch out James Sadler, and he has done, slowing down that much on the racing line.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I think with no front wing, you probably... Oh, Gosby nearly lost it then. I saw that in the distance.
Yeah, I think the Inters are now well, really struggling here as the rain builds up on the track. I think first laps, yes, Inters were the choice, but now the track is just that wet that you need full wet tires, and I think Gosby was well to take the gamble.
Gosby's a bit slower that time round.
He's got 11 seconds to Patel, and he's got 1.5 laps to go. So if he just can keep it on the track and not be 5 seconds a lap slower than Patel, he finishes second.
Eros Masciuli is catching Camille Wieswa very, very quickly. I mentioned a moment ago that Wieswa was struggling in these conditions, and he is, unfortunately. Eros Masciuli, nice sideways, but yeah, is catching him up quite quickly. I think for everybody out there, they're going to be hoping that these final couple of laps pass very quickly and event-free, but as far as we're concerned, I want to see some more action, guys. Come on, is it going to snow, or are you going to be racing?
Incredibly exciting, wow.
So yeah, last lap from Gosby was 4 seconds slower than Simoncic, but also 2 seconds, almost 3 seconds slower than Patel.
Yeah, I mean, Gosby, I mean, he's got James Sadler right behind him on the full wet tyres, and Sadler looking quicker, but obviously Sadler a lap down at the moment, unfortunately, as Becker is still in the pits, I believe, trying to repair his damage. Masciuli's past Wieswa.
Yeah, he is.
Nicely
on
done.
The exit of the last corner, I think.
didn't get to see it myself, but it does look like it was through the final corner. But it is in the corners where Camille is struggling the most. I mean, his car does not look set up for decent braking or traction in these conditions. It's just not working for him. Whereas Masciuli seems a lot smoother, able to get the power down a little more. Yeah, we were having to make many corrections there. Let's see, Stefanko not far away from John-Eric Saxon.
Gosby's going nearly 3 seconds slower than Patel now. 6 seconds between them. Lap and a half to complete.
Yeah, it's the last lap though.
Yeah. Sorry.
Jurni Simoncic is already heading up towards turn 6 and 7, so he's only got half a lap to do.
But Gosby will do another lap.
Yeah, Gosby will do.
And Patel would do another lap.
Yep, that's correct.
But there's still a 7-second gap.
Well, Jurni Simoncic has now only got 3 corners to go. It's looked fairly comfortable for him throughout most of this race up until this last 5 laps. It's been an absolute dramatic turnaround with the weather. But I think it's fair to say that Jurni Simoncic, nearly binned it. Yeah, it's fair to say that Jurni Simoncic got his strategy absolutely spot on today, making the most of that pole position to take victory in Hungary. What a way to do it. Absolutely delighted with himself. And now the question is Martin Gosby going to be able to hold on to that 2nd place?
I think so. Patel is still 6 seconds.
3 seconds now.
Oh, 3 only.
He can see him. He can see him at the end of the back straight. He's closing on him. He's just having to hope that Martin Gosby's Inters can't handle the amount of water on this track.
He might get him. He's in the corner. He's less than. It's about a second and a half.
Trying to be close, but I think Gosby will be just making it. Yeah, Gosby will just make it. So 2nd place goes to Martin Gosby and 3rd to Mohammed Patel. I think, yeah, very well driven by both of the guys in these conditions.
Sergi Adas, though, I've got to say, my driver of the day, to be honest. Sergi Adas takes 4th place. What a result for him. Michi Hoyer comes home to finish in 5th. Daniel Kish, we've not spoken about him a lot through the broadcast, crosses the line in 6th. John-Eric Saxon, I am so pleased to see him get to the end in 7th place. Stefanko was hunting him down on those final laps, but it's 8th place for Stefanko. Not bad from a pit lane start. Eros Masciuli's been entertaining throughout, takes 9th place, and Camille Wieswer was giving us quite a bit of excitement, but unfortunately the wet weather put an end to that. But it is going to be a point for Camille. And then we're on to Alari Alkmaar. Obviously, he raced earlier today in Pro. Wouldn't have had to cope with wet weather then, but he's done a fantastic job, as our commentators curse him. But yeah, he's done a fantastic job to be able to say he'll finish in 11th place in WC, wouldn't you say, guys?
Oh, absolutely. And Alari's tiptoeing around the track at the moment because he's still on. Actually, he's finished.
Yeah,
he's a lap down.
He has finished.
Yeah.
That's all right then.
So he's just on his in-lap on the Inters. Yeah, no, fantastic drive from him. Incredible drive from all 3 of the people on the podium. All 3 of the podium drivers. Incredible performance this afternoon. And wow, the weather certainly threw a cat amongst the pigeons for us.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a real hectic race. And Simmer just takes a little tour on the grass on his in-lap. But yeah, the rain, it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, who predicted that? None of us did. The weather forecasters didn't predict it either.
No, not really. I mean, there was, I think, about 10% chance, but 10%, normally you just assume there's nothing. And Simmer just does some victory donuts here, right in front of the pit entry. Oh, and gets a little tap from Martin Stefanko.
They're not the best place to be doing your burnouts when people are returning to pit lane.
Not the best position, but yeah, great drive from him. As you said, even in the dry, he had full control of the race. Going to win by 40, 50 seconds of a gap to Martin Gosby in P2. So
yeah, Stunning drive from Journey. And you've got to take your hat off to Mohammed Patel, because I think Mo raced from 8th on the grid
7th,
and
actually.
found a way to get himself up onto the podium yet again. So very clever drive, very astute drive from Mohammed Patel.
Yeah, Jordanna Valeriano also passes his parking exam in the wet.
Oh, I don't know. He did back up quite far. He's good at braking going forwards. He's not so good at braking in reverse. It will be interesting, though, to be if we were able to have a chat with Jordanna Valeriano, Martin Gosby, and Mohammed Patel, because I mean, regardless of what happened in the rest of the race, it'd be interesting to get their thoughts over the last few laps, but also what was going through their mind over the course of the race, or what was happening to Patel once he got past Michi Hoyer and seemed to lose some time. So it would be good if we were going to be able to have a chat with these guys, and I'm sure the viewers would like that too.
Yeah, for sure. I think we just have to wait a minute or two for them to show up.
So then, guys, while we're waiting for them to join us, what would you say was your highlight of the race, or your moment of the race, or who would you have as your potential driver of the day on that one?
Sorry, guys, I had to turn a light on. My room got a bit dark.
It happens when you're doing
I've just come back.
it?
It's the end of the summer. Caught me out.
It was daylight when we started. Now it's raining. It's night time and it's raining.
Were you asking me about driver for the day, or
I was asking both of you, driver of the day, or highlight of the race, or the moment that got your attention the most?
I can't separate driver of the day. For me, I can't separate Jordanna Valeriano, because you know, we all three of us know the level of performance that the guys in the top, even the top 10 in World Championship, the whole World Championship grid, but to drive away from the front of an FSR World Championship grid the way Journey did in the dry was absolutely incredible performance level. So that was mind-blowing. And I can't separate him from Mohammed Patel, who found a way on a track we said, you know, you can't pass here. He was 8th on the grid, I think, and found a way to get onto the podium. So you've just got to applaud that. So I can't separate those two.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me. Patel, just very good drive from him, from 8th or 7th, one of the two, to the podium. Just shows why he is leading the championship. But also drivers like Sergi that has now 2 wins in the Ace Championship, but is able to get a really good result here in Hungary for the World Championship.
Well, it certainly shows he's ready, because presumably Sergi will come in the top 5 in Ace this season. So the way the system works is the top 5 in the championship have got to move up.
I think it's top 3. Top 3.
Oh,
yes, top 3.
It's only top 3.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
which is why 4th tends to go. I don't really want to score too many points here.
Well, that's good. I'm safe. I'll still be in pro then next summer.
Yeah. Well, what I would say to anybody watching that wants to know how these guys have been able to do what they've done today, or in any of the WC races, because I said this during the race, if you remember, I said it's easy to sit there and go, oh, Valeriano won by 30-40 seconds. But you've got to look at why. But this is to not take anything away from any of the drivers, because, for example, I'm looking at Martin Gosby's lap times throughout the whole of the race. And these are the key points, not of how Valeriano has won, but of how these guys are so good. You look at their lap times, and their differences from lap to lap to lap is 1/10, 2/10. That's about it. Apart from Gosby's last stint, which was he did a 130, a 132.3, a 136.8, a 135.9, a 138.4 when he was absolutely cacking it, but he was on inters in tricky conditions. Yeah. But yeah, it's that consistency, stint after stint.
So guys, I can just see through the door here that we've got all 3 of the podium and Sergi in the waiting room ready for an interview.
I'll get one of the guys in.
His head might be a bit too big to get get through the door if he's listened to the broadcast while he's been driving.
Let's get Journey in first, shall we?
Sounds good.
If he wants to join.
He's probably got to be pulled in.
Yeah, I just sent him a message, and I guess I'll just have to drag him in otherwise.
Yeah, he's in the ready for interview room.
Let's hope we don't catch him by surprise.
He's having a drink of water, towel over his head, pulling his race suit.
Welcome, Journey.
Backside.
Congratulations on an absolutely stunning win. I mean, I know you've had wins before, 2 wins this season, but that was an incredible performance. How did it feel?
Yeah, I'm quite lost for words, actually. I thought that more people would go for 3-stopper, because when I calculated it was like half a minute faster than 2 stops, but I guess that everyone had like traffic problems and they just couldn't afford risk a 3-stopper, so I just drove away.
Yeah.
I think Journey, in honesty, mate, I think pace was a big part of it. You had so much clear air that you were able to do whatever you wanted, and everybody else was trying to cover someone off or find a way to catch you. It was an incredible drive. How did you feel about the rain at the end?
Well, it was a nice wake-up call 5 laps to go, and actually I had great fun drifting a little bit at the end. I felt really comfortable, and I had no fear there that I would lose the car, so I pushed all the way. Yeah, I really love this track. So yeah, it just all worked amazingly well this time.
It certainly looked like it. How much practice did you do for Hungary for this race?
I think...
Bear in mind, I can tell him if you fib or not.
No, actually, it was like 5, maybe 4 to 5 evenings, but I mostly focused on qualifying because it was really the most important part of the race today. But yeah, I don't think I went over 200 laps completed.
Right. Well, awesome. Congratulations on just an amazing win. That's it from me anyway.
I've got a quick question for you, and we might let Felix get some words in. Yerni, well done. Throughout the broadcast, I tried to not give away what your strategy might be, but so I'm going to focus a bit more on qualifying, because your race you did exactly what you needed to do, and if you watch the broadcast back, you'll hear what I say about that. Qualifying, I'm hinted in qualifying that you'd been quicker than the lap times you set in the practice and even in the early parts of qualifying. So were you annoyed that you couldn't get that extra couple of tenths out of the qualifying session? Because I saw you pushing hard to try it. So were you frustrated, or were you just happy that it was going to be pole anyway?
Well, my optimal plan was to do a 17.9 or something like that, but I was happy with what I've done. I mean, the real road was not up to what we practiced in official practice, so well, I didn't really bother much about it. I knew that I had the pace, and I was quite calm about everything.
Okay, last question from me. When you went to put you pitted for the wet tyres, it almost looked like you were going to go for another lap, and either it was a bit of a late call to go in the pits, or the rear end decided for you that it's time for the wet tyres. So were you always going to pit then, or did you nearly lose it and thought, right, I'm going to go in now?
I was not. I don't think I nearly lost it, but I set the strategy through the lap, so I was able to either continue or to pit. The grip was actually quite good until last 2 corners. So then actually, last 5 seconds, I just decided that it's the safest thing to dive in and put the wets on.
Yeah, we saw Martin Gosby do that extra lap, I believe.
Yeah, I think he didn't lose much time doing that, but yeah.
Well, it's a great.
If I might just say, this race, well, it's the last race of my how to say, non-married life. I'll be racing Monza as a husband, so
No, you won't. She won't
it's
let you.
really
No,
nice ending for a part of my life.
Oh, congratulations to you, Journey.
Yeah, thank you. I had to say.
No, I will congratulate you, Judy. I know I'll take the mickey there and say that she won't let you, but to be fair, she's let you race all this time, and it's not the first win, but it is a good way to end your singledom. Many people would do it with a stag do. Yerni Simoncic does it with a race win.
Yeah. Thanks, Journey, for joining us here in the commentary booth, and good luck for the next round. Next round is Monza, is it? So it's gonna be a power track. You're gonna do the Spa front and rear wings again, or just one wings?
1-1 confirmed.
All right, 380 kilometers an hour on the main straight.
Yeah, at least 380.
Right, so I'm excited to see that happen in 2 weeks' time. Anyway, yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
So, shall we get our next victim?
Oh,
That
yes.
sounds good.
Who do we want? Martin Gosby, Patel,
It's Martin
or
Gosby. I want to see what it says about Gosby on the screen. I want to see what food he likes, which F1 TV
Okay.
doesn't like. I've not seen it before.
Then we're getting Gosby. Good afternoon, Mr. Gosby.
Good evening.
Congrats on the race. Very, very nicely done. How was it with the changing conditions out of the blue? Did you expect any rain, or was it as unexpected for you as it was?
No, I just had no idea. I didn't even check the forecast for this race or anything like that. So yeah, it came, and I was on to the radio saying, "Okay, it's raining," and then yeah, I took the wrong tires, obviously, with the intermediates.
Yeah, well, you say you took the wrong tires in the first 2 laps in the wet. You were quicker than Patel and Journey. But then the track just got too wet and you lost a lot of time.
Yeah, that's right. I had a back marker which I overtook, and then he wanted to come back through, so it's a bit of a weird moment. I didn't want to have contact or anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, judging by the lap time, that last lap of I think 1:38, that must have felt like you were tiptoeing around on ice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could see at the start like that Mohammed was like 3 seconds behind. I was like, okay. I just couldn't. I didn't want to turn the steering wheel because I knew I'd get oversteer. I just didn't want to lose the car.
Oh, fantastic result for you, though. I mean, at the beginning, it was a real fight between you and looked like it was going to come down to you and Hoyer for quite some time. But then he was attacked by Patel, and then finally you were attacked by Patel. But second step of the podium on a track like this is an incredible credit to you.
Yeah, I'll take it, but not being like 30 odd seconds behind Journey for sure.
Yeah, he was just on another planet today.
All right, Martin, David, a couple of questions for you. First of all, which do you hate more, mushrooms on a table or the wet weather at the end of a race?
Oh, to be fair, I'll take the mushrooms then, because if I took the right tyres, then I think I would have been a lot better.
Okay, clears that one up. Next one is touching on what you're saying about the gap between yourself and Yerni Simoncic. I can imagine that was kind of painful, but at what point did you realise, hang on a minute, he may be on a different strategy to what we're on? And was there any points throughout the race where you thought about switching strategy?
Well, it's basically the second lap, because my first time lap was like a 20.1 or 2. And then I see he does and carry on with like a 0 and a 19 or so. So I'm like, okay, yeah, it's sort of over in a way.
So was there any temptation to try and switch the strategy up?
I think the only thing was to hope that he would have traffic or something like that. But he just pulled away so quickly that he only had to worry about a couple of cars, and then he eventually cleared them. So I was just going to stick to my strategy and do my race, I suppose.
Well, you drove an absolutely fantastic race. I mean, it's not easy driving around here with the likes of Michi Hoyer, Mohammed Patel, even Sergei Eras, trying to hunt you down and attack you in the opening stages of the race. So a fantastic job from yourself today. In hindsight, other than strategy, do you think there's anything else you could have done to try and make that extra bit of time to attack more for the victory?
Not particularly. I mean, for qualifying, I took one less front wing than what I normally would, and it would have worked out if I had put the lap together. But for the race, I just had massive understeer on the front left, and I wore it really quickly. So I had to pit early for my first stint even, and the pace wasn't very good.
That's a shame, because historically, over the season, you have been pitting later than many, but you have just reminded me as well that in qualifying, on one of your, I think it was either your last run or your second to last run, as you were heading down into turn one, I said at the time that you didn't quite have traffic, but there was a car that potentially put you off a little bit, and you lost a little bit of time in sector one. Your sector two and sector three were amazing. Do you feel that sector one cost you the opportunity of pole position because the rest of the lap was good enough?
Yeah, I think it would have been close. I've already spoken to Mohammed about that, and he finds it a little bit funny that we say that. So,
okay, fair enough. That's all the questions from me. Sorry to have taken them all up there, Dave and Felix. Feel free to have a chat with Martin.
Oh no, that's a great description of the race, Martin, and congratulations. You know, awesome work.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Congrats and a great job. And looking forward to Italy. Are you as excited for it as Journey running the 1-1 wings?
I don't know. I mean, throughout this mod, I've just been struggling on the brakes, and Monza is just 100% brakes. So we'll see. But I think I'm going to struggle a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay. Now, thanks for joining us here in the commentary booth again, and good luck for next round.
Thank you.
All right, let's. Who do you guys want first, Patel or Sergi?
Well, we're doing it in the order that they're finished so far, so maybe we should stick with that.
Sure, Patel. Here we go. All right, welcome, Mr. Patel, to the commentary booth. How did your race go? Tell us. I mean, we saw that the last 7-8 laps were a bit different than most of us would have expected.
Yes, probably that rain, the sprinkle of rain probably helped me more than anyone else because I was on options, and it was a gamble to go to options because I knew that if I stayed with primes, it would just follow Michi for half of that stint and they would just waste my time. So I took a gamble to try to pass him, got that done, but then I had to manage the tires. So unfortunately, tried to overtake Michi. I did lock up quite heavily, and then I just tried to get the tires back to where Danny had his percentage of tires. Probably it could have been okay, but maybe the last lap could have had a cliff or something like that. And then the wet and then the rain came, and I was damning myself when I didn't pit when it started to rain heavier because I thought Hoyer and Eras will overtake me. But for some reason, I gained gap to them again. If I did pit on that lap, potentially I could have got Martin at the end since he picked intermediates. Yeah,
we saw that Martin really struggling on those inters at the final stages of the race. But yeah, on the dry, how did the rest of your race on the dry go?
To be honest, I expected what happened today. So I totally expected Jenny to dominate. It wasn't a surprise to me. Probably a bit surprised by Hoyer and his lack of pace. I thought he might be a bit faster. I knew that we were struggling a bit in preparation. Danny came home yesterday night, so hats off to him to getting 6th. Really good job by him. To be honest, I just struggled with the balance of the car. So I had a lot of understeer, but when I tried to dial out the understeer, I would just lose the rear end of the car. So it was just that, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Even with a click of more front wing, I just had a boat for half of the race, and it was just a pain, Normally at Hungary, I like to drive, but today was just frustrating.
It was an intriguing opening stint and opening pit stop window. Mo, from where we sat, you were sort of there, couldn't get much done, so it looked like you sort of went a little bit into cruise mode, and then it was action stations around the pit stop window. And we were saying before you came in, couldn't separate you or Journey for driver of the day, because you found a way to get from, I think, 8th on the grid onto the podium on a track where we all say it's almost impossible to overtake. And yet again, you did some amazing work around strategy and around the pit stop windows. So was that something you worked out on the fly, or was that the plan when you started in 8th?
I knew I had the 5 crisp penalty, so I knew that, there's no point. So, for example, I knew kind of like going 21 on options would be slower than... I wouldn't have done that if I was on the front row of the grid or started 3rd. Equally, by going to 28 laps in the second stint would be slower. But I always knew that there's no point pitting more or less with Martin and Hoyer, because there's no way to overtake. So I just had to try to get the opposite tyres to them and hope for the best. But to be fair, it was lap 1 that pretty much I gained 2 places at the start, and then I could just wait behind them. But I had more wear, so it wasn't that I was really being held up too much. Just I had more wear, but Martin was a bit slow as well, so I was a bit fortunate with that sense. In that sense.
Well, fantastic achievement anyway to get to the podium from P8. That was a wonderful bit of driving and some inspired strategy, and we could see what you were thinking. We were calling it as you did it when you went from that option. When you went onto that option stint at the end, we said, right, he's going to throw it all at getting past Hoyer and then just start managing tyres as best he can. So we didn't think about that aspect you brought up, that getting the chance to put some wet tyres on actually saved you from having to finish that really long stint on the on the option tyres. We hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I was... Half of it was me like, damn, it's raining, and then half of it was like, yes, I don't have to worry anymore.
I get new tyres.
Yes, and then Mitchie spun, so it was like I can just cruise to the end of the race. There's no point me risking it. So I knew that I could maybe, if, let's say there was an extra lap, I could catch Martin, but to push in those conditions, it's just trying to throw. Yeah. You're trying too hard, and if you wall it and you throw 15 points away, then it's a bit stupid by me. So.
Well, if today was damage limitation, I think getting on the podium is pretty good damage limitation, Mo. So congratulations.
Cheers.
I've only got one question really for you, Mo. These guys have covered pretty much everything throughout your race there. So my only, two questions. One, was there a part of the race where you were perhaps thinking, who is this guy from Ace that's right behind me? He's a pain in my backside. And also, at what point did you think, oh, you know what, I could have Gosby here at the end? And was there if only I'd pushed a little more, you would have had him?
So for Eras, I knew that he wouldn't do anything silly, and I've seen him driving iRacing, so I go with him in iRacing there. So it's not a new name to me. And as for the last, and also to be fair, I knew I was going to pit later than everyone else, so I knew that those last laps, those 2 laps that I have extra, I will gain the gap to him, and there will be nothing to worry about. And if I didn't fail in the laps that he was behind me, I had nothing really to worry about. I was just frustrated at my lack of pace in that stint. And as for Martin and Wets, probably if I pitted with Mitchie, I could have had a chance, but equally speaking, to push in those conditions and then to catch and then overtake, it's putting a lot of risk. And I did say to Danny on TeamSpeak, like, I know that Martin's on Inters. I checked on one of the straights, but there's no point risking it. It's like hero or zero, and it's not the time to try to push like a madman in that stage of the race.
No, definitely. So more of a bit of a sort of a Prost mentality towards the season end, where you've got, in a way, everything to lose, and there's no point taking risks that aren't worth that loss.
The thing is that it wasn't like I was cruising on wet, so I was trying to catch him. It's just, you can't overdrive. You're wary of the fact that if you overdrive, you're in the wall. So this is not the point that I could have caught him if I drove at the same, like, there was one mistake I did on wets. I just went wide in the chicane once, that might have cost me like a second, but still, that means I'm a second behind Martin. So it's just what it is. He was just that he had that delta. The gap was too big initially. If the rain came one lap earlier, then yes, maybe, but maybe this, but that is more important for us to fix our setup to catch Jordanna. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Over to you, Felix.
Yeah. Thank you again for joining us here in the commentary booth, and good luck for Italy. It's gonna be a difficult race, I think, again with Go Speed and their top speed.
Yes, totally. But then one thing is, I want to say congratulations to Jordanna, because I don't know if he said it or not, but I think he's getting married. So congratulations to him. And I'm pretty sure we'll see Jordanna fly past us down the straights. But that first means that we have to be in front of him, and that's going to be hard enough as it is. So.
Are you hoping that married life will slow him down a bit? I mean, they do say that, what is it they say to boxers? You get involved with a lady the day before a race, you end up with wobbly legs.
I think Jordanna will be fine. So he's clearly done a lot of hard work in those last couple of races. And probably since Germany, you could say, Go Speed's probably found something with the setup and have the upper hand from then. We just have to work hard to get back and try to stop him from winning, because at the moment he could quite easily win the remaining races of the season. So we'll see.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks you for joining us here, and good luck next race. All right, then we just have our last victim for today, Sergi Heras. Second race in the World Championship series. Let's get him in here.
When he gets in, we could say, right, okay, that's it, folks. See you later. Waited all this stuff.
We could. We've got a little bit of a more ghetto solution. Normally, we have like the interview animations and all that, but yeah, didn't really have time and also the resources to do so. So it's a little bit more ghetto, but you can see it, Sergi, and you can see his face. But welcome, Sergi. Great race, fourth. I think you can be happy with yourself.
Yeah, where did I have to sign before starting the race to finish before?
Yeah, well, you've got to ask your team boss that, I guess. But what was your initial reaction when the rain started to fall?
I was on third sector, and I saw the sun because it was sunny, and saw like something reflecting there, and I was wondering, is that a raindrop? And when I was ending that small straight on the third sector, I realized it's raining, and then I thought, what do? I pit? I don't pit. I saw Patel wasn't pitting. I wasn't going to pit, but I saw that Michi slide a bit, and he pitted, and I thought, let's pit for wet, and whatever happens, at least I have wet tires.
Yeah, I think that's the right decision you made. Didn't lose any positions.
Well, he had a big gain on Michi, didn't you? Because Michi spun in turn 5, the long right-hander, and a battle that you were involved in trying to chase him down for quite some time all fell into your lap when Michi had that spin. So you made the right call.
Yeah, well, the first lap I was close to Michi and lost it all in the being too conservative and a bit on the pit stop too. But then he spun, so I overtook him.
Can I take you back to the opening stint? Because for us, we were there and we were looking at the World Championship leader, Mohammed Patel, breathing down your neck for an entire stint. And we were saying, you know, is Sergi going to crack here? Is this pressure going to be too much? But you were absolutely inch perfect and held Mohammed off and looked to us pretty easily. How did that opening stint feel for you?
Surprisingly, this one was one of the days I was very calm and confident. The qualifying was good since the start, so I just had 200% confidence to keep that good positions on the race, and so did I, trying to follow Michi the first stint.
Well, you did a very, very good job, because for us in the commentary booth watching the race, seeing that this was your second World Championship event, you looked like an absolute seasoned veteran there in amongst some of the top guys in the world. So That was a fantastic drive from you, Sergey. Well done.
Just touching on that, hi Sergey, Dave here. I mentioned during the broadcast that obviously I talked a little bit about the Ace race yesterday, where some would say you were very fortunate and some would say you deserved the victory in Ace yesterday. But one of the things that I said was that the victory in Ace yesterday could have boosted your confidence for today's race. So being in that situation of being around Mohammed Patel, Michi Hoyer, fighting potentially for a podium would have helped you. What happened in Ace yesterday would have helped you for this race today. Do you think that's where your comfortableness came from of how your driving was today?
Well, yes and no, not really. I mean, I was too nervous yesterday because I sometimes put too much pressure on myself because I know yesterday there wasn't going to race Callas nor Felix. So I in my mind I have to win, yes or yes, because I have to be the fastest one. And I wasn't the fastest one in qualifying, and that was a bad starting. But eventually the strategy was the good one. Tire wear was good, so I could win the race. But it wasn't the best race after all to gain confidence. Today I just thought I had to approach the race differently, forget about the result, enjoy it and do my best. And luckily I was more calm and everything went good.
Well, it was a great race for you. I mean, I praised you throughout. Some may think I was trying to commentators curse you. I wasn't. You did do an absolutely fantastic job out there. I gave you as my sort of driver of the day, although my other two commentators disagree with me. But yeah, I think you did an absolutely fantastic job and fully deserve the position you finished in. And in many ways, that podium was ever so close. I mean, did you think you may be able to get onto the podium and take third place at any point?
I thought it would be very hard, but it was possible because on the first stint I was feeling faster than Michi. But the pit stop wasn't the best. Then I came out after Kamil Liswa and I lost like 3 or 4 seconds to Michi. Then Patel overcutted me and everything wasn't the best at that moment, but I kept going and eventually it went better than what it was in that moment because I was quite angry with this one, Masholi too. I think it was Masholi and then this one. Not angry because of their driving, angry because they were in front of me. I couldn't go faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Well, absolutely great job. That's all of my questions. Felix, got any more?
Yeah, I think that's it. Of course, looking forward to Italy again. You're probably going to do just Ace again. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if somebody at Netrex or other teams decide that you need a permanent spot in the World Championship, maybe we'll see you in the World Championship again. Anyway, good luck for the next round. And yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done. Well done, Felix, as well, getting that picture together. But I will say Martin Gosby wins Beard of the Day from the top 4 drivers. That's for sure.
Yes.
You can tell that boy looks after his facial hair.
I'll take that as a win.
That's ridiculous, guys.
He gets very cheeky. Dave Paling gets very cheeky.
I do, yes.
This is not fair.
You've got to be groomed, Mo.
Yeah, I can't say anything. I look like a fat Joe Wilkinson at the moment, so I can't say anything at all. If you don't know who that is, feel free to Google him. I think we're just about ready to wrap up, but I do think Dave did have something he wanted to say.
I think I'm okay.
I think we've got one driver left that wants to have a word. Martin, Mr. Stefanko, if he's still here.
Hello.
Welcome, Martin.
Thank you.
How was your race?
Very difficult. I mean, first of all, I haven't done much practice. I only have done like 1 hour a couple of days ago, so it was pretty tough getting back to speed. And I was also quite a bit sick the whole day. And in the first half, it was okay, but in the second half, I had like head spinning. I was sick in the stomach, and the vision was a little bit blurry. So it was just intense, and it was like in an infinite race for me. So, for me to start from the back of the basically start from the pits and finish P8 after all this, I think it's great, and I gotta thank the whole team for getting a fantastic car ready for me for this weekend.
Well, indeed, well done. Pits to points is good going. So that was a strong drive under the circumstances for you.
Yeah, 8th position. I think you from the pits can't really complain. Yeah, Dave.
It was a good drive, and I can totally admire you sort of thanking and congratulating the team for putting the car together. Who's getting the telling off for having the 7th gear just a little bit too short, though? Because on so many occasions you were behind a car and it looked like the opportunity was on to attack into turn 1, but once you hit that limiter, it just made it so much more difficult.
Yeah, that was a little bit unfortunate, and but there's not much we can do about it right now. I think in Mitchie's case, he had a longer 7th gear than myself. So yeah, it's what it is. And in the end, I don't think it would have made much difference. And in the end, I think the P8 was the maximum today with the circumstances.
Well, it was a good drive, and obviously once we'd seen that down the main straight into turn 1 was going to be difficult for you, I mentioned that you're going to have to look elsewhere for making the overtake, and turn 2 was one place that you definitely had to go a couple of times. I think it may have been Masciuli where you tried to go around the outside of turn 2, and it worked beautifully up until turn 3 where it was just a tiny little lift you needed, just killed the momentum. But I mentioned that it may give you the confidence a few laps later to attack there again, and you did try it. But how frustrating was it, or how confident were you of having another go, or how close was that attempt at making the pass?
Well, it was very, very frustrating because I started on the primes, so in the next 2 stints I was on the options. So for me to be held up massively by Masciuli since I was on the options, it was very, very frustrating. But it was very, very hard to overtake, and the first 2 corners were really the only chances. I tried my best. I tried to break as late as I could. It didn't work out, so yeah, it's what it is.
Well, great drive nevertheless. Well done. I mean, it'd have been interesting to see what you may have been able to do had you been able to qualify. But Monza will be coming soon, and I'm sure plenty of overtaking opportunities there. It'd be interesting to see how you get on at that track.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see.
Yep, thanks for joining us here, you as well. And I think we've had everyone now. Dave and David, would you like to say anything before we end the stream here?
I will just to thank all of our viewers for being with us for what I think was a very exciting race. And wow, that rain certainly threw a cat amongst the pigeons. And join us in Monza to see what happens when we go from a high wing circuit to a low wing circuit, and would look forward to seeing you all there.
All I'll finish off with is saying for a track where people say you can't overtake, we've had one hell of a race to watch today. There's been plenty of action, plenty of confusion about strategies, and as Dave mentioned, that rain at the end, that just threw, I mean, it threw us off in the commentary box, so God knows what it must have been like for the drivers. But the impressive thing for me there was how well the drivers cope with that instant changeable condition. But again, hats off to Jordanna Simicic for taking the victory in the style that he did, and yeah, fully look forward to hitting actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to Monza. It's Italy. With my comment earlier on, I might not be welcome. But yeah, I'm going to really enjoy watching Ace Pro and the World Championship at that circuit. As Dave said, totally different to this one. It's going to throw us a whole different ball game when it comes to Formula Sim racing.
Yep, definitely. So indeed, as you guys are saying, next race is going to be the Italian Grand Prix, 2 weeks time, the 24th of September. Make sure you tune into that. And until then, that's it for us. and take care, please.